この長い戦いが今夜終わるかもしれない。
For as long as stories have been told, the same kind of story has been told time and time again. The story of good versus evil, light versus dark, Demon Slayer versus Demon. That's right, we're finally talking about Demon Slayer, one of the most popular animes of the 21st century. Our protagonist Tanjiro is about to go from this to this.
I will defeat you! Fuzon Kibutsuji!
Set your heart ablaze. Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba is an anime series first released in 2019, based on the manga by Koyoharu Gotoge. It now spans 4 seasons of TV, a feature film, and an upcoming 3-part movie finale, becoming one of the highest grossing franchises of all time. We've got a ton of characters to meet, lots of tragic backstories to unpack, and a whole bunch of attacks with super long names. So let's not waste any more time and dive right in. Episode 1, Cruelty. The series kicks off with a young boy wearing Hanafuda earrings walking through a blizzard carrying his wounded sister on his back. He begs her to stay alive and promises he will do whatever it takes to save her. But how did we get here exactly? Well, to find out exactly what happened, let's jump back a bit. Meet Tanjiro Kamado. Tanjiro lives in a small hut in the mountains of Japan with his younger sister Nezuko, the one that was on his back. We're in the Taisho period, about 100 years ago, and Tanjiro has 4 other younger siblings and his mother, all living with him. Tanjiro's father passed away a few years ago, and he's pretty much the man of the house now. So, life hasn't been too easy for this family. Still, they all love each other very deeply, and Tanjiro is a super devoted and hardworking brother who just wants to see everyone happy. Aside from being a #1 big bro, Tanjiro's main hustle is selling charcoal in the town at the base of the mountain. Today, Tanjiro wants to sell as much charcoal as possible because it's almost New Year's and he wants to buy a huge dinner for his family. What a freaking great guy.
I had to put Rokta down for a nap now. Otherwise, he would throw a fit. Ever since Dad passed, he's been glued to your side.
Tanjiro's siblings want to come with him to work, but their mother says Tanjiro will be much faster on his own, and he promises to play with them when he returns. In town, we see that Tanjiro is a pretty popular guy, and all the townsfolk are impressed with how much he cares for his family. A young boy asks him for help because he's been accused of breaking a plate. You see, Tanjiro has a super sharp sense of smell, and only has to sniff the plate once to know right away that a cat broke it. That's kinda cool. Soon enough, Tanjiro's charcoal basket is empty, and he's ready to head back up the mountain. But it's getting really dark, so he's stopped by an elderly man named Saburo. Saburo warns Tanjiro of demons that prowl the mountainside at night. Okay, you see, in this world, demons have been around as long as humans can remember, and they are incredibly powerful creatures that feast on human flesh. They are kept at bay by only 2 things: their fatal weakness to sunlight and the Demon Slayer Corps, a cool-as-hell organization that exists to protect humanity from the threat of demons. Saburo insists that it's too dangerous to be outside at night, so Tanjiro spends the night at his house. The next morning, Tanjiro heads home, but as he gets closer, he starts to smell blood. He runs the rest of the way and is greeted by a truly horrific sight. Every member of Tanjiro's family lies massacred in a pool of blood. Nezuko is the only one that is still breathing, which brings us right back to Tanjiro carrying his sister through the woods to bring her to the doctor in town. Suddenly, Nezuko wakes up and starts growling in an inhuman way. She grabs Tanjiro and throws them both off a nearby cliff. Tanjiro asks Nezuko if she's okay, and she immediately attacks him. Seeing that, Tanjiro is forced to shove the handle of his axe in Nezuko's mouth to stop her from biting him. Remembering Saburo's words, Tanjiro realizes that his beloved younger sister is now a full-fledged demon herself. Oh no! Tanjiro is deeply pained by this, but he knows that there is no way Nezuko is responsible for the deaths of their family members. Nezuko starts to grow in size and strength while Tanjiro begs her to stay human. Then, out of nowhere, a dark-haired swordsman leaps through the air and brings his sword right down on Nezuko. Tanjiro pushes his sister out of the way and nearly gets his own head chopped off. Yikes! On top of that, this freaking swordsman is so powerful that his swing creates a huge gust of wind that blasts Tanjiro and Nezuko into a tree. His name is Giyu Tomioka, and he's from the Demon Slayer Corps, which means he has to kill every demon he sees, no matter what. He moves before Tanjiro can even react and grabs Nezuko. He's about to decapitate her, but Tanjiro begs for her life, saying that she has never hurt a human and never would. He smelled an unfamiliar scent back at his house, a scent that must belong to some other demon that killed his family. Giyu isn't swayed by this though. He feels bad for what happened to the Kamados and tells Tanjiro that he is sorry he wasn't there sooner to save his family. But at this point, there can be no changing the past, only fixing the present. Giyu then stabs Nezuko, which enrages Tanjiro. He starts throwing stones and charges straight at him, but he effortlessly knocks Tanjiro out with the back of his sword. However, this charge was just a distraction, and Tanjiro's axe nearly hits Giyu. Giyu is impressed by Tanjiro's resolve, which distracts him enough for Nezuko to break free.
You let your emotion drive you to charge at me. You are a fool!
Instead of attacking, Nezuko leaps in front of her brother's body and protects him. Now, since this kind of behavior is unheard of for a demon, Giyu realizes that maybe Tanjiro was right and Nezuko really is different. So, he spares Nezuko's life and just knocks her unconscious. Later, Tanjiro has a dream where his mother asks him to take care of Nezuko, and when he wakes up, he sees Nezuko wearing a muzzle made of bamboo. Giyu tells Tanjiro to travel to Mount Sagiri to find an old man named Sakonji Urokodaki. He says that this man will train him. Tanjiro then goes back home to give his family a proper burial, vowing that he will someday turn his sister back into a human. Then he takes Nezuko's hand and sets off for Mount Sagiri. Episode 2. Trainer Sakonji Urokodaki. The two siblings keep traveling towards their destination of Mount Sagiri. Tanjiro buys a basket to carry Nezuko in, which works because she now has the ability to grow and shrink at will. Awesome! At night, Tanjiro comes across a temple in the woods and he once again smells blood. He rushes to see if anyone needs help and sees a demon surrounded by corpses. The demon launches towards Tanjiro. Big Bro tries to fight back with his axe, but the demons have super speed, super strength, and a super healing factor. Nezuko, meanwhile, is overwhelmed with hunger at the sight of human bodies, but she manages to suppress it when she sees her brother in danger. Sheesh! Now that's the cleanest kick I have ever seen! Unfortunately, even decapitation isn't enough to kill a demon unless it's done with a special demon slayer's sword. Nezuko fights the demon's body, while Tanjiro gives the demon head, let me finish, a headbutt. Jeez! Tanjiro pins the demon's head to a tree and tackles the main body off a cliff, with Nezuko grabbing Tanjiro's collar at the last minute to save him. They return to the demon's unconscious head, and Tanjiro is about to finish it off with his knife. Then, a man in a wooden Tengu mask shows up, and it's the very guy we're looking for, Sakonji Urokodaki. He tells Tanjiro the knife won't be enough. He'll have to destroy the head completely using a rock.
This isn't the scent I found at my house. It's different. But I still have to finish him off.
Tanjiro hesitates to crush the demon's head, and Urokodaki thinks to himself that Tanjiro is far too kind to ever be a demon slayer. The sun comes up, and the demon melts into ash. Urokodaki slaps Tanjiro and chastises him for being too indecisive. He He says that if Tanjiro is committed to traveling around with a demon, he has to be ready to kill both Nezuko and himself if she ever eats a human. He then says he will test Tanjiro to see if he is fit for the Demon Slayer Corps. For his test, Urokodaki brings Tanjiro far up Mount Sagiri where the air is super thin, and tells him that he must find his own way back down the mountain by daybreak.
These traps were set by a human, which means their scent sticks out to me!
Tanjiro thinks this will be a piece of cake with his sense of smell, but the mountain is filled with traps. At first, Bro struggles and gets hit by basically every trap, but Tanjiro takes a deep breath and is able to separate the natural mountain scents from the smell of traps. It's a brutal journey, but Tanjiro makes it back right at daybreak and collapses on Urokodaki's doorstep. Urokodaki sees Tanjiro's determination and accepts him as a student. Episode 3, Sabito and Makomo. Before he can really start his training, it's time for Tanjiro to get a quick history lesson about demons and slayers. The Demon Slayer Corps has hundreds of members, and although they aren't officially recognized by the government, they have been around protecting humanity since ancient times. Nobody knows where demons come from, only that they have an unending hunger for human flesh and a wide range of different powers. A demon's strength is directly proportional to the amount of humans they've devoured, and the strongest ones are able to take on stronger forms and even use spells called blood demon arts. In order for Tanjiro to become a demon slayer, he must first prove himself to Urokodaki and then survive the final selection process. Every day, Tanjiro repeats his training routine of running up and down the mountain, followed by a couple thousand sword swings. He keeps improving, but Urokodaki is a merciless trainer and keeps making the traps more and more dangerous.
But it made moving a lot harder.
Tanjiro also starts to learn about different sword techniques. See, in this verse, all sword techniques stem from different breathing styles, and every breathing style has its own specialty. Urokodaki's specialty is water breathing, which allows its user to move as naturally and flexibly as water. Urokodaki is going to teach Tanjiro the 10 different water breathing forms that will let him adapt to any combat situation. But first, Tanjiro has to master total concentration breathing, which will help increase his overall combat abilities. An entire year of brutal training goes by, and through the entire period, Nezuko remains asleep in Urokodaki's house. Finally, Urokodaki brings Tanjiro to a clearing and tells him it's time for his last test. Before them sits a giant boulder, and Urokodaki tells Tanjiro he can only participate in the final selection if he is able to slice all the way through the boulder.
If you can cut this boulder in two, I'll allow you to enter the final selection.
Tanjiro is shocked at this seemingly impossible task, and no matter how many times he tries, he can't even make a dent in the thing. For months, he tries to slice the rock to no success, and begins to feel hopeless. One day, a young man in a fox mask appears in front of Tanjiro and tells him to quit his whining. This is Sabito, a fellow student of Urokodaki's, and he gives Tanjiro a proper thrashing. Then, Tanjiro meets another young student named Makomo, who gives him advice on everything he's doing wrong and helps him to master his breathing techniques. This whole good cop, bad cop routine keeps going for another 6 months.
Please tell me you saw that? Huh? The way that guy hit me! His swing didn't lose an ounce of power!
Sabito keeps sparring and kicking Tanjiro's ass, and Makomo keeps helping him back up. Tanjiro learns that the two are orphans who were raised by Urokodaki, but failed the final selection process. Tanjiro continues to train until it feels like his limbs are going to fall off, and eventually, he's ready for a real match against Sabito. The fight is over in an instant, and for the first time, Tanjiro makes the first strike. He slices Sabito's mask in two and sees his smiling face for the first time. Sabito and Makomo fade into the mist, and Tanjiro realizes that what he sliced in half wasn't really Sabito's mask at all, but the giant boulder. Episode 4, Final Selection. Tanjiro stands triumphant in front of the split boulder and realizes the reason he finally won is because he's now learned how to detect the opening thread. Basically, this guy's sense of smell is so good that he can detect the optimal path from his sword to his target, and it appears to him in the form of an imaginary thread. In other words, thanks to this opening thread, Tanjiro can easily trace a demon's weak point and slice it up like sashimi. How cool is that? Then, Urokudaki shows up and tells Tanjiro that honestly, he never had any intention of sending him to the final selection, and gave him an impossible task on purpose. So many of Urokudaki's students have died during the final selection, and he didn't want to see Tanjiro suffer the same fate. But he now knows that Tanjiro is simply built different, and Urokudaki gives him his own fox mask before sending him off to the final selection. As Tanjiro is heading off, he tells Urokudaki to say goodbye to Sabito and Makomo for him. Urokudaki is shocked and asks, "Wait,
Tanjiro, なぜお前が死んだあの子たちの名を知っている?
They were ghosts all along? What in the hell?" Anyway, Tanjiro travels to Mount Fujikasane and enters an area surrounded by purple wisteria, a flower that demons are basically allergic to and keeps them trapped on the mountain. He sees a bunch of other applicants around his age, and the group is addressed by some creepy twins who speak at the same time. They announce the simple rules for final selection. Applicants must survive for 7 days on a demon-infested mountain. Guess it's one of those pass or die type deals. The test kicks off, and right away, Tanjiro is attacked by 2 demons. He detects the opening thread, uses Water Breathing's 4th form, Striking Tide, a series of flowing slashes.
I smell the thread!
Before you can say destroy, Tanjiro has slain his first demons. But, of course, the whole test isn't going to be that easy. Tanjiro soon smells a demon far more powerful than any he's faced so far. The demon is a huge, hulking mass of writhing limbs, and it swallows an applicant whole, right in front of Tanjiro's eyes. He's about to eat another one when Tanjiro swoops in and chops off one of his arms. The demon sees the fox mask and tells Tanjiro that Urokudaki is the one that trapped him on this mountain decades ago, and he's vowed to eat every single one of Urokudaki's students as revenge. And yeah, that includes Sabito and Makomo. I officially hate this demon. Tanjiro attacks in a blind rage, but he's unfocused and gets slapped around by the hand demon. Then, he hears the voice of Sabito telling him to calm down and focus his breathing. Tanjiro remembers all his training and starts chopping off arms left and right, but they grow back instantly. Tanjiro then uses his famous headbutt to deflect a grab and focuses his sense of smell to predict where the arms will attack. Soon enough, he's running along one of the demon's giant arms when he detects the opening thread. Damn, I just can't get enough of that animation! Episode 5, My Own Steel. The hand demon crumbles to ash in front of Tanjiro, but our fave big bro senses the sadness and regret in the demon's heart, and holds his hand as he dies. Now, Sabito, Makomo, and the rest of the students will all be able to rest in peace. The final selection continues, but after his big showdown, the rest of the test is a walk in the park for Tanjiro. He tries talking to the demons to gather information on how he can turn Nezuko back into a human, but they're only really interested in trying to eat him, which is par for the course, I guess. He returns to the starting area and sees only 4 applicants have survived. They're officially demon slayers now, which means they each get their own special demon-slaying Nichirin sword. They also each get a crow, which is how they will communicate with the Demon Slayer headquarters and get their missions. One of the new slayers is this angry-looking boy with a huge scar on his face, and he's pissed that they have to wait 2 weeks for their swords to be forged. So, he grabs one of the twins by her hair. Big mistake to do that in front of big bro Tanjiro. He grabs the boy's arm and nearly breaks it before Grouchy here finally backs off.
Wait, crows? Isn't this a sparrow?
I don't need this crap!
Then we get a scene where we meet the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, but we only see him from behind. He seems like a pretty good dude though, and is excited to hear that more Slayers, who he refers to as his children, will be joining the Corps. More on him later though. Tanjiro heads back to Orokudaki's place and is shocked to see his sleepyhead sister is finally awake. Apparently, Nezuko really is different from other demons, and she's able to recover her strength just by sleeping instead of eating people. That's handy. Tanjiro tells Urokodaki that he was able to get vengeance by killing the hand demon. Which, come to think of it, Urokodaki knew every one of his students was killed by the same demon, and he didn't even think to warn Tanjiro? Well, all's well that ends well. 2 weeks later, Tanjiro gets his sword delivered by Haganezuka, a masked swordsmith who takes this craft very, very seriously. Tanjiro tries to invite the dude in for some tea, but he just wants to yap about swords. See, Nichirin's swords are extra badass because when they are drawn for the first time, they change their color depending on the user. Tanjiro unsheaths his weapon and the blade turns pitch black, which is one of the rarest colors, but not in a good way. No slayer with a black blade has ever gotten very far as a swordsman. And upon seeing Tanjiro's black blade, Mr. Swordsmith goes ballistic. Yeah, I'm not sure they should even be letting this guy leave the forge.
But I was really hoping I got to see a sword turn bright red!
Suddenly, Tanjiro's crow swoops in with his first official orders as a demon slayer. He must report to a nearby town where young women have been disappearing, find the demon responsible, and take it down. Ooh, alright, I'm starting to get hyped here! Episode 6, Swordsman Accompanying a Demon. Fit check! Tanjiro puts on his new Demon Slayer uniform, and he looks like he was made to wear it. It's waterproof, fire-resistant, and strong enough to resist attacks from low-level demons. He also gets one last gift from Urokodaki, a new, lightweight wooden box to carry Nezuko in. With his new gear equipped, Tanjiro heads to his first mission. As soon as he gets to town, Tanjiro questions a young man named Kazumi who witnessed his fiancée getting taken by the demon.
It's happening every night. It's very creepy.
Tragic. Dreadful. As soon as night falls, another girl will be abducted.
Kazumi brings Tanjiro to the alley where it all went down, and Tanjiro is immediately on all fours sniffing the ground like a dog. Don't worry guys, he's a professional. He can definitely tell a demon was there, just not where he went. So the only thing left to do is wait until nightfall. In another part of town, a young woman is going to sleep, when suddenly, a pool of murky water appears around her bed. A demon's arms emerge from the inky swamp and pull the girl in. Even all the way across town, Tanjiro picks up the scent immediately and stabs into the ground at the exact place the demon is hiding. This hurts the swamp demon and gives Tanjiro an opportunity to rescue the girl. Tanjiro asks Kazumi to hold the girl while he clocks in to slay some demon.
There are some things I want to know.
In the middle of the fight, Tanjiro remembers one last thing that Urokudaki told him. Apparently, there is only one demon in the entire world who is capable of turning humans into demons. That demon is the very first one to ever exist. He is now thousands of years old, and he is the one who killed Tanjiro's family. Very little is known about this father of demons aside from his name, Muzan Kibutsuji. And oh my god, you guys are not ready for this monster. Anyway, now's not the time for flashbacks. There's a freaking demon on the loose. The demon has split into 3 bodies and is able to create portals to his swamp on any surface he wants. Tanjiro is struggling to fight them off while protecting Kazumi and the girl. Tanjiro gets himself cornered, but he gets his butt saved again by his little sis. Also, one more thing that Urokudaki told Tanjiro is that he hypnotized Nezuko while she was asleep into believing that all humans are her family, and all demons are her enemy. Yeah, that's the kind of brainwashing that actually saves lives. Episode 7, Muzan Kibutsuji. Nezuko charges at the swamp demon, but Tanjiro tells her to come back and focus on protecting the 2 humans while he attacks. With that said, Tanjiro jumps right into one of the demon's swamp portals. The demon thinks that Tanjiro is totally screwed now that he's in the swamp, but he's underestimating Big Bro. Tanjiro trained on a mountain where the air was super thin, and down here his water-breathing forms will be extra strong. It's super effective! Up on the surface, Nezuko is fighting the demon's last body, and despite having no training, she's kinda whooping his horned ass. The demon gets in a lucky scratch to Nezuko's face and stuns her, and that's when Tanjiro shoots out of the swamp and takes off the demon's arms. Another win for the Slayer Corps.
Now I'm gonna drill a hole right through your face!
Tanjiro demands information about Muzan Kibutsuji, but the demon is more afraid of Muzan than he is of death. Yeah, I can't stress this enough, but Muzan is a villain's villain. He's just that guy. Anyway, the swamp demon tries to flee and Tanjiro takes his head off. Sadly though, Kazumi realizes they were far too late to save his fiancée and is completely heartbroken. Tanjiro tells him that he must keep living for the sake of the dead, but Kazumi grabs his shirt and asks Tanjiro what the hell could he possibly know about losing someone. Dude, you're actually better off by comparison. At this point, Tanjiro just smiles and hands Kazumi a hairpin that belonged to his fiancée. Something in Tanjiro's eyes tells Kazumi that they may be more similar than he realized. He apologizes to Tanjiro and promises to take care of the rescued girl. No rest for the weary when you're a demon slayer though, because it's not even 5 seconds before Tanjiro gets his next mission in the district of Asakusa in Tokyo. Upon reaching the city,
I've got another mission already?
Oh yes you do!
Could you at least give me a minute?
No time! Move it!
Tanjiro stares in awe at the crowded street. Our simple mountain boy has never seen a big city like this. He's about to dig into a tasty bowl of udon when he is hit by a smell that isn't his delicious noodles. It's the same scent he picked up back at his house. Muzan's scent. Well, that didn't take long. Tanjiro sprints towards the source of the smell and soon finds himself staring at the back of the creator of all demons, the man who destroyed his family. Tanjiro is about to draw his sword when Muzan turns around and, to Tanjiro's shock, he's carrying a young human girl calling him daddy. Not only that, but he's with a human woman who seems to be his wife. Muzan acts super casual, but when his family isn't looking, he quickly scratches a random guy's neck. The man immediately transforms into a demon and attacks the townspeople. Yikes! Episode 8. The Smell of Enchanting Blood. Tanjiro tackles the newly turned demon to the ground, and Muzan uses this opportunity to casually stroll away with his family. That's probably for the best, because at his current level, Tanjiro doesn't stand a chance against the father of all demons. Although, that doesn't stop him from shouting after Muzan and promising that he will find and kill him someday. Ballsy!
No matter where you go, I promise you won't escape me!
What's the matter with that boy, Tsukihiko?
The cops soon show up and try to pull Tanjiro off the demon, but he begs them to leave the situation to him. Even back then, cops were quick to violence, and they're about to whack Tanjiro, when suddenly, flowers begin blossoming in mid-air and blind the cops. This is a blood demon art, and it is incredibly useful when it comes to distracting its targets. While Tanjiro continues to restrain the new demon, a well-dressed woman and young boy approach him, and the woman tells him that they're surprised to see a demon slayer using non-lethal force against a demon. This woman reveals to Tanjiro that she and the boy are demons. Oh! But not to worry, because they're not the bad kind of demons. They're the ones that broke free of Muzan's control and are committed to taking him down. Meanwhile, Muzan drops off his family at home while he attends to some business. He's walking down an alley when a really unlucky drunk dude makes fun of Muzan's pale skin and gets instantly squashed like a bug. He does the same to the guy's brother and then kneels down by a woman who saw the whole thing. Muzan pierces the woman's skull with his finger and floods her body with a massive amount of his own blood. This causes the woman to transform faster than her body can keep up with, and she melts into a pile of flesh. Ew.
You bastard!
Muzan summons two demons to his side and tells them to bring him the head of the demon slayer with the Hanafuda earrings. Then, Muzan remembers a moment from his past when he was beaten by a mysterious swordsman who wore the exact same earrings. Tanjiro agrees to go with these two unusual demons back to their hideout. On the way there, the young boy demon calls Nezuko ugly. Rude? The elegant demon doctor introduces herself as Tamayo, and her harsh young assistant is Yushiro. Tamayo has made changes to her and Yushiro's body, so they are able to survive on only small amounts of blood that they buy from poor villagers.
How old are you, Miss Tamayo? You should know better than to ask a lady her age!
She's been trying to find a way to turn demons back into humans herself, and Nezuko might just be the missing piece she's looking for. So, Lady Tamayo asks Tanjiro if she can study Nezuko, and tells him that to complete her research, she'll need more blood samples from powerful demons. At that moment, two Temari balls come tearing through the walls of Lady Tamayo's house, forcing everyone to duck for cover. Tanjiro's next two foes have found him, and they're not holding back. Episode 9, Temari Demon and Arrow Demon. The demon hurling these Temari balls is Susumaru, and she continues to pummel the house with her balls until it is nearly destroyed. Her partner Yaiba has eyes in the palms of his hand that allow him to conjure invisible arrows out of thin air. These arrows can manipulate the direction of any object he desires, while Susumaru is basically just really good at hacky sack. Tanjiro can sense these two are miles above any other demon he's faced. Then, Yushiro learns about Yaiba's abilities the hard way. One of Susumaru's Temari balls changes direction in mid-air and completely obliterates Yushiro's head. They're not done showing off yet, as Susumaru grows 4 extra arms and summons 4 more Temari balls.
Total concentration! Water breathing! 7th form! Drop ripple! Thrust curve!
She announces that everyone in the house is about to be killed by 2 members of the 12 Kizuki, a group of ultra-powerful demons that serve directly under Muzan. Uh-oh! Yushiro regenerates his head, but things are looking bleak as Tanjiro is barely able to deflect the Temari balls. Then, Yushiro comes in clutch with a spell that allows Tanjiro to see the invisible arrows. Now, he'll have a much easier time dodging the balls. And he tells Nezuko to go after the arrow demon. Nezuko kicks Yaiba and the arrows dissipate, giving Tanjiro the opportunity to take off all 6 of Susumaru's arms.
Miss Tamayo! Yushiro, no!
But Big Bro Tanjiro is fighting big league demons now, and Susumaru can regenerate her arms in the blink of an eye. Tanjiro and Nezuko switch targets, but soon Tanjiro's body is just being sent flying all over the place by Yaiba's arrows. Oof! Tanjiro is taking a beating, and Nezuko isn't doing much better. She tries to kick one of the tamari balls and loses her foot for it. Damn, things are really looking bad. Tanjiro needs a way to redirect the arrows without touching them, and he's got one crazy idea. He combines two of his water-breathing forms to create a new move called Twisting Whirlpool Flowing Water to sweep all the arrows up in a riptide. Once he's close enough to Yaiba, he unleashes an improved version of his second form, Lateral Water Wheel, and decapitates the arrow demon. Episode 10, Together Forever. That's one down, one to go. But Yaiba is so petty that he's gonna keep attacking even while turning to ash, and he smashes Tanjiro against the ground over and over. Tanjiro pulls out every move he knows to soften the blows, but by the time Yaiba is just a pile of ash, Tanjiro has a broken leg and a cracked rib. Yikes! Even in this state, Tanjiro picks up his sword with his teeth and starts crawling towards the others. Luckily, Nezuko is holding her own against Susumaru. She regrows her foot and is now able to kick the demon's balls back at her. Lady Tamayo comments how remarkable it is that without even a drop of human blood, Nezuko seems to be gaining strength rapidly. But still, this is one of the 12 Kizuki she's up against, and Tamayo decides to step in before things go too far. She uses her own blood demon art to mess with Susumaru's mind and calls her master Muzan a total coward. Susumaru has to defend her boss and rants about how incredibly powerful he is, but she makes a fatal mistake and says Kibutsuji, Muzan's last name. See, when Muzan turns someone into a demon, he also places a curse on them, that if they should ever say his last name, they'll suffer deadly consequences. Does this guy have a Voldemort complex or something? Susumaru begs for forgiveness from Muzan, but soon, giant demon arms burst out of her mouth and chest, and she dies in agony. World's worst boss ever.
You can't comprehend the power he wields! No one's stronger than him! Not Lord Kibutsuji!
After tending to Tanjiro's wounds, Lady Tamayo is harvesting blood from the demon's remains. Then, she tells Tanjiro that although the two demons thought they were in the 12 Kizuki, they didn't have the correct markings on their eyes to be actual members. This means that as strong as they weren't even close to the actual power level of the Kizuki. Come on, let the kid have a win! As always, Tanjiro takes a second to pay respect to his opponent and the human they used to be. Later, Nezuko is acting super affectionate towards Tamayo and Yushido. Tanjiro says that she must see them as family, which means she must see them as humans. Lady Tamayo starts to cry at this and hugs Nezuko back, expressing resentment at her own demonic nature. Tamayo offers to take Nezuko in, as it would likely be a lot safer for her to live there than to keep going on missions. But Tanjiro says nothing will ever separate him from his sister. He thanks the demons and promises to keep sending Tamayo blood for her research.
But beware, if you lose your humanity, that will cause pain as well.
Before Tanjiro leaves with his sister, Yushido admits that Nezuko is kinda cute. Aww. Tanjiro is back on the road and heading to his next assignment, when he comes across the blonde-haired boy from Final Selection who is on his knees begging a random young woman to marry him. Here we go. Episode 11, Tsuzumi Mansion. Enter Zenitsu Agatsuma. Zenitsu is the second of our main trio in this show, and he's definitely the most hated of the three. The reasons for that are because, well, his two main things are being a huge coward and pathetically simping over girls. Yeah, he does have a badass side to him, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, Tanjiro runs into Zenitsu as he is asking this complete stranger to marry him, so that he won't die alone.
When did I say anything even resembling that I loved you? All I did was come talk to you while you were crumpled up and disheveled on the side of the road!
Tanjiro recognizes his fellow demon slayer, and the situation is explained to him by Zenitsu's crow, which is actually a sparrow, because Zenitsu can't even get that right. Apparently, this girl saw Zenitsu crying by the side of the road and asked if he was okay, which Zenitsu took to mean that she was in love with him. Tanjiro intervenes and lets the woman go on her way. Same, Tanjiro. Same. Zenitsu sees himself as a huge weakling and believes every mission he goes on will be the one that kills him. The only reason he even became a demon slayer was to get out of a massive debt that was taken on by his trainer. Luckily for Tanjiro, this guy is gonna be his partner for the next mission.
I'm Zenitsu Agatsuma. Please, you've got to do what you can to save me.
Aren't you being a bit dramatic?
Yay! The two run to their next mission, with Zenitsu whining the entire time. And eventually, they reach a mansion in the woods. There, Tanjiro sees a little boy and girl crying outside, and these kids tell him that the mansion belongs to a monster who has kidnapped their older brother. As they're talking, a mutilated body flies off the roof of the mansion. But it's not their big bro, just some poor guy. Tanjiro leaves his Nezuko in a box with the kids to protect them, and enters the mansion with Zenitsu reluctantly following. Tanjiro tells Zenitsu that he isn't fully healed from his last fight, which makes Zenitsu freak out again since he was counting on Tanjiro doing all the work. The two kids run into the mansion too because they got scared of the sounds coming from Nezuko's box. Suddenly, the mansion starts to shake, and Tanjiro stumbles into a side room with the little girl. Then they hear the beat of a Tsuzumi drum, and the layout of the mansion completely changes. Zenitsu has had enough and drags the little boy around for an exit, when he stumbles upon a strange shirtless swordsman with a boar's head. The swordsman sprints right past Zenitsu and goes deeper into the mansion.
It's a monster!
Meanwhile, Tanjiro finds himself facing the mansion's owner, a giant demon with drums all over his body named Kyogai. Then, the boar-headed stranger bursts into the room and draws his dual serrated Nichirin swords. He announces that he will kill the demon and use it to grow stronger and reach even greater heights. Okay, now that's how you introduce a supporting character. Episode 12, The Boar Bares Its Fangs, Zenitsu Sleeps. As the episode title suggests, Zenitsu is kind of a bum, and you'll see why. In the meantime, Boar Boy launches himself at the demon, but the demon strikes the drums on his body to shift the gravity in the mansion and keep the swordsman away. The Boar Boy steps on the little girl, and Tanjiro has to grab his leg to throw him off. Tanjiro asks what the hell this guy's problem is, and he replies that he doesn't really care about anything except for fighting and getting stronger, and then takes a swing at Tanjiro and the child. Okay, so this guy has his flaws too, but trust me, he's one of the good ones.
This is foolish! There's a demon right there! You think I care? Measly insect.
Anyway, the demon keeps beating his drums, which not only shifts the mansion around, but can also make huge claw-like attacks. Elsewhere in the mansion, Zenitsu and the little boy are running away from a creepy demon with a long, nasty tongue. The boy shows way more bravery than Zenitsu, and Zenitsu just feels bad that he's too weak to do anything. Then, the demon says he's going to scoop their brains out, and this scares Zenitsu so much that his brain short-circuits and he instantly falls asleep. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. The demon is about to strike when Zenitsu, still sleeping, slices its tongue off with lightning speed. He gets to his feet and calmly announces his attack. Thunder breathing, first form, thunder, clap, and flash. A single strike that decapitates his opponent in an instant. See, I told you he's got another side to him. Bro is basically the Pikachu of this universe.
Thunder breathing, first form. Thunderclap and flash!
But then he wakes up and is back to his old self, not even realizing that he was the one who killed the demon. Maybe he could just stay asleep for the whole series, please?
You saved me! Thank you so much! I'll never forget that you did this!
Why didn't you just tell me from the start that you were so powerful?
Boar Boy keeps rampaging through the mansion, taking down weaker demons without breaking a sweat. Turns out he's been running around here for 3 days, tirelessly trying to take out the drum demon, but unable to ever get close enough. Kyogai, meanwhile, stomps around, muttering something about Marachi. Don't worry, I'll explain it in a moment. And we learn that he used to be a member of the 12 Kizuki. Oh boy, I just can't wait until we finally meet those bad boys. Anyway, Tanjiro and the little girl then find her older brother. He has one of the demon's drums that can change the mansion's layout and has been using it to stay away from the demons. Also, apparently, Marechi refers to a rare blood type this boy has that makes him extra delicious to demons. Ugh. Kyogai finds them, and Tanjiro rushes at the demon while the kids use their drum to escape. Tanjiro is on the back foot and worries that his injured state will make it so he won't be able to beat this demon. Then, he remembers some advice from Urokodaki. The old guy told him that water can take any form, and Tanjiro can use his different water-breathing forms to adapt and fight in any circumstance. Thanks to his master's words, Tanjiro gets back to his feet and steels himself for battle. Never underestimate the power of good old flashbacks. Episode 13, Something More Important Than Life. Zenitsu and the little boy keep wandering around aimlessly until eventually the mansion rotates and they fall out a window to land back outside. Meanwhile, Tanjiro urges himself to keep fighting and tells Kyogai that he will never yield. Kyogai has a flashback to when he was a human, and I guess he was an aspiring writer, but his dad kept telling him he would never be good enough to get anything published. Most relatable demon backstory yet. Anyway, Kyogai is pissed and starts playing his drums even faster, making the room spin so fast that Tanjiro never even touches the ground. Tanjiro has started to adapt to the attacks and has figured out exactly what will happen based on which drum Kyogai hits. He uses his shallow breathing to maintain power and hits Kyogai with a total concentration water-breathing 9th form splashing water flow turbulent. That's a mouthful! He tells Kyogai that his blood demon art was truly incredible before decapitating him. Then Kyogai's head is like, hey, did you really mean it that you liked my drumming? And he dies kinda happy. Whatever. Tanjiro takes some of Kyogai's blood and gives it to a magic cat that will bring it to Lady Tamayo for her research. Then he finds the kids and brings them back outside. But boy, when he gets there, he's greeted by the sight of the Boar Masked Slayer repeatedly kicking Zenitsu, who was protecting Nezuko's box.
The box. I protected it. You told me.
Boar Boy sensed a demon inside the box and tried to attack it, but Zenitsu knew how important the box was to Tanjiro and refused to let him. Alright, Zenitsu, I guess I'll stop making fun of you so much, but only a little. The Masked Slayer is about to stab right through Zenitsu and the box when Tanjiro launches himself at Boar Boy. Yeah, my money is on Tanjiro kicking this guy's ass into next week. Episode 14, The House with the Wisteria Family Crest. Tanjiro punches the Masked Slayer in the stomach so hard that he cracks his ribs and sends him flying.
I heard it! He broke his ribs!
Tanjiro tells him that a guy who would use his Nichirin sword on someone who isn't even fighting back is the lowest of the low. But Boar Boy just laughs and says if that's the case, he'll fight Tanjiro barehanded. He attacks with a crazy, almost breakdance-like fighting style. Tanjiro thinks to himself that this style and flexibility is practically inhuman, and it reminds him of fighting an actual boar. Boar Boy is a real menace here. Finally though, Tanjiro headbutts the Slayer and knocks his boar mask off, and he is beautiful. He finally introduces himself as Inosuke Hashibara. Tanjiro asks how it's spelled, but Inosuke doesn't know how to read, and he promptly falls unconscious from injuries and exhaustion. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and the kids bury the body they found earlier and pray for the souls of everyone who died in the mansion. Inosuke wakes up and starts headbutting trees. Well, he's certifiably crazy, but at least he's not like Zenitsu or anything. Sorry, man.
You should get some rest, Inosuke. Sorry to ask too much of you.
Tanjiro's crow flies in and tells all the Slayers to follow it to their next assignment. Before they leave, the crow also gives the older brother, with extra yummy blood, a bag full of wisteria flowers that will ward off demons. Seems like they should just give every human one of these things, but I guess wisteria is a little hard to come by.
I have a name, you know. It's Tanjiro Kamado.
All right, Gunpachiro Kamapoko. I'm gonna bring you down.
So, our main trio is finally all together, and they soon reach a house with a door that bears a Wisteria family crest. This is a safe house for demon slayers, and they are treated to a doctor, dinner, and some beds. The new comrades get to know each other a little better, and it turns out that, just like Tanjiro, Inosuke is also from the mountains. But unlike Tanjiro, he was raised by literal animals. Cool! Tanjiro decides to tell his friends the truth about what he's carrying in the box, and Nezuko crawls out. As soon as Zenitsu sees her, he is furious with Tanjiro for not telling him he was traveling with a girl this cute.
You've been traveling with a girl this adorable! Hanging around with someone this cute day in and day out.
Now, I'm only going to say this once and get it out of the way. Nezuko is 12 and Zenitsu is 16. It's pretty creepy that he has a huge crush on her, and I think it's especially weird since Nezuko can't even talk, and the whole thing only adds more fuel to the Zenitsu hate fire. But hey, different times, I guess. Episode 15, Mount Natagumo. Once our trio has fully recovered, it is no time at all until they get their next assignment. They must travel to Mount Natagumo, where a whole nest of demons resides. On the path to the mountain, they come across a demon slayer injured on the ground. He asks for help before being pulled back into the forest by thin threads of spider silk. Heads up if you're not a fan of spiders, viewer discretion is advised. Undeterred, our heroes stride into the forest to save whoever they can. Well, two of them do.
You stay behind me, trembling like a scared little animal. This is making me hungry.
Inosuke.
Mount Natagumo is covered in spiderwebs and the bodies of slayers who have been caught in them. Tanjiro and Inosuke find a survivor named Murata who tells them what's going on. He arrived with a group of 10 slayers, but as soon as they entered the forest, some of their bodies started moving all on their own. Pretty soon, all the slayers were attacking each other, and Murata barely escaped. Back at Demon Slayer HQ, the leader of the Corps has heard the mission isn't going very well and decides to send in the big guns. He is sending 2 Hashira, which is the highest rank a Demon Slayer can reach. Each Hashira has their own unique specialty that they have mastered, and the 2 we're getting are none other than our old friend Giyu, the water Hashira, and a young woman named Shinobu, the insect Hashira. Meanwhile, Zenitsu is waiting outside the forest feeling sorry for himself, until he remembers that Nezuko could be in danger and rushes in after. Great.
You don't have a care in the world, do you? All our human problems? You have no idea.
Then, Tanjiro and Inosuke are attacked by fellow slayers under demon control. Inosuke is ready to chop these fools down, but Tanjiro convinces him not to hurt his comrades, and notices they're being controlled with silk threads being woven by tiny spiders. No matter how many threads they cut, they just come right back. Then, a young-looking demon named Rui appears above the slayers and says that his family will make short work of every human on the mountain. There's a whole family of them? Even Spider-Man only had an aunt! Episode 16, Letting Someone Else Go First. Inosuke has his own personal breathing style called beast breathing that is perfectly suited to outdoor environments like this. He uses 7th Form's Spatial Awareness, which is basically a radar ability that lets him instantly detect the demon who is controlling the tiny spiders. It's not the demon right before them, but another one deeper in the forest. Murata says that he will handle the hijacked slayers while Tanjiro and Inosuke go take on the demon controlling them. The Thread Demon isn't worried, because the closer the slayers get to her, the stronger her puppets, or dolls, become.
Stop! Don't come any closer! You have to go!
Rui addresses this demon as Mother, and says that if she isn't able to take out all the slayers, he will tell Father. And Mother seems absolutely terrified at the mention of him. Family, am I right? Tanjiro and Inosuke are under attack by Mother's dolls, and she's pushing her puppets' bodies so hard that they've shattered most of their bones. The Slayers are still fully conscious while being controlled, and one of them begs Tanjiro to end their suffering. Inosuke is more than happy to oblige, but Tanjiro has better ideas. He throws the Slayers up in the trees where the threads get all tangled up. Sadly, once Mother sees her dolls are no longer useful, she snaps all of their necks in a single motion. Tanjiro kneels by one of the fallen Slayers, and Inosuke can feel the rage emanating from him. Then, Mother sends out her strongest puppet, a headless demon with massive blades for arms. Inosuke charges in blindly and almost gets killed, but Tanjiro saves his butt and tells him they'll have to work together. Tanjiro takes out the demon's legs with a 4th Form Striking Tide, and Inosuke slices the monster in two.
I'm a dead man!
Inosuke can't help but admire the way Tanjiro is able to strategically view the entire battle and create a plan that flows as naturally as water. Inosuke wants to prove he's just as capable of being strategic, so he picks Tanjiro up and hurls him right over to Mother's location. As Tanjiro is flying towards her, Mother sees him and accepts her fate, as she will finally be free of her family's abuse. Tanjiro sees her surrender and grants her a peaceful death. As she dies, Mother warns Tanjiro that a member of the 12 Kizuki is on the mountain. Finally! Better not be another faker. Episode 17. You must master a single thing. Zenitsu is wandering around the forest, completely miserable that he is all alone in this spooky place. But whose fault is that?
Stop moving around! What am I even looking at?
Okay, on that one, I can't fault him for his reaction. He flees deeper into the forest until he comes to a house that is suspended in the air by threads. A gigantic spider with a demon head lowers itself from the house, and this is another member of the demon family known as Brother. Maybe this family wouldn't be so dysfunctional if they took the time to give each other real names. Brother tells Zenitsu that the battle is already over, because his spider minions bit Zenitsu the moment he entered the area, and within 30 minutes their venom will turn him into a spider slave. Then we get a flashback to Zenitsu's training, and he was pretty much exactly the same as he is now, but with black hair. He genuinely wanted to live up to the expectations of his master, who was the former Thunder Hashira, but just saw himself as way too weak and pathetic to ever do that. One day, he was hiding in a tree to avoid training when he got struck by lightning, turning his hair yellow. This dude has bad luck.
I've had enough of it all! Zenitsu, are you okay?
Back to the fight. Zenitsu is once again so terrified that he faints and falls out of a tree. Before he even hits the ground, he's back to being a confident swordsman and enters the stance for Thunder Breathing First Form. See, Thunder Breathing has 6 forms, but Zenitsu was only ever able to learn the first one. Thing is, he's really good at that one form. Zenitsu thinks back on how his master never gave up on him despite his weakness, and launches his attack. He zips around the forest at lightning speed and beheads Brother. He wakes up lying on the suspended house and uses a breathing technique to slow the effects of the poison. so he's not always completely useless, just when he's, conscious or talking. Tanjiro heard the lightning strike from Zenitsu's attack and wants to go investigate when they spot another family member called Sister. He and Inosuke are about to give chase when she calls out for Father, who suddenly comes crashing down on the Slayers. Things are about to get pretty spicy. Episode 18, A Forged Bond. Giyu and Shinobu have finally reached Mount Natagumo and are walking through the dozens of Demon Slayer corpses. Shinobu mentions that she heard a couple of rookies have joined the battle, but that they're probably all dead by now. Giyu ignores her and says he's only interested in killing demons, and they split up. Is it just me, or would this mission have been a lot easier if they just waited until daytime? Anyway, Tanjiro and Inosuke attack Father, but their swords are barely even able to scratch the massive demon's body. He then sends the Slayers flying.
I'll say it again so you understand. Stay away from my family!
Soon after, Tanjiro chops down a massive tree that pins Father down in the river. He's about to unleash Water-Breathing's strongest and final 10th form, but Father just picks up the tree and hits a home run. Oh, Inosuke, you sweet, sweet, illiterate feral boy. Zenitsu is about to succumb to the spider's poison when Shinobu lands right next to him and asks if he's alright. Then Tanjiro lands in a deeper part of the forest, and before he can run back to join Inosuke, he comes across Rui, who is torturing his sister. Enraged, Tanjiro asks Rui how he can inflict so much pain on his family, and tells him he doesn't deserve the title of brother. Rui is pissed, but then another Slayer appears and is psyched to come across two child demons that he assumes will be easy pickings. He strides forward, excited for the raise he'll get after this mission, and is instantly eviscerated by a razor-sharp web from Rui. How did that dude even survive this long?
Take this! No, wait! Don't do it! Ah!
Meanwhile, Inosuke is just trying to stay alive until Tanjiro returns when he realizes, I'm freaking Inosuke Hashibata. I don't run away from fights. He uses one of his swords to pound the other into Father, over and over like a hammer and chisel. Finally, he slices through one of Father's arms. Father runs away and Inosuke thinks the monster is terrified of him, but he's just shedding his skin to reveal an even more powerful form. Yikes! Inosuke is aware of the huge difference in strength between them and almost gives up, but remembers Tanjiro's promise to return and tries to hold on a little longer. He strikes Father's neck, but one of his swords breaks against the demon's super tough skin. Father grabs Inosuke and starts to squeeze his skull. Inosuke's life flashes before his eyes, including a memory he had forgotten. When he was a baby, his crying mother threw him into the wilderness, saying that at least this way he would have a chance of living. Not sure what that's about yet, but in the present, Inosuke gets his butt saved by Giyu, who demolishes Father with a single water-breathing move. That's the power of a Hashira.
Did he actually cut through him? Who could have possibly done such a thing?
At the same time, Tanjiro is struggling to dodge Rui's razor-sharp webs. He tries to slash through one of them with his sword, but the demon slices right through the blade like butter and heads right for Tanjiro's face. Episode 19, Hinokami Kagura. Tanjiro twists his body out of the way at the last second to avoid a very premature ending to the series, but he is now wounded and swordless. Meanwhile, Inosuke is in awe of Giyu's strength and challenges him to a fight. Giyu doesn't have time for this nonsense and just ties Inosuke to a tree before he even realizes what is happening. Inosuke rages as Giyu runs off, but honestly, he should be grateful that Giyu didn't simply dice him up like a tomato. Even without a weapon, Tanjiro isn't ready to give in, and he tries to close the distance between him and Rui. Rui launches a wide web attack that Tanjiro has no chance of dodging, but at the last second, Nezuko pops out and takes the blow in his place. Rui is shocked to see an actual loving family that is willing to suffer for each other, and states that he wants to take Nezuko as his new sister. His old sister's like, "I'm standing right here, dude," and he chops her up with some webs. Tanjiro retorts that he would never let Nezuko be a part of a messed up family like this. Duh.
I'm your elder sister! You can't abandon me!
Shut up!
And Rui reveals that he is the one who is part of the 12 Kizuki. He's lower rank 5, which makes him the 11th strongest Kizuki. What a surprise! The one demon on this mountain that has an actual name is the big boss. Who could have guessed? Rui grabs Nezuko and viciously strings her up in the trees with his webbings. Tanjiro keeps throwing himself at Rui, but he is just getting slapped around like it's nothing. Rui even walks right up to Tanjiro and gives him a free shot, but Big Bro can't even scratch Rui's neck with his broken blade. He desperately launches Water Breathing's 10th form, Constant Flux, a spinning move that gains force with every rotation. He is finally able to cut Rui's webs, but this isn't even his final form. Rui uses a blood demon art to infuse his webs with his own blood and creates a cage around Tanjiro. It looks completely hopeless, so you know what that means? Flashback time! When Tanjiro was a child, he watched his father do a ceremonial fire dance as an offering to a being named Hinokami. Tanjiro asks how his dad can dance in the cold despite his illness, and his father tells him of a breathing technique called fire breathing that allows one to never get tired. Then, he tells his son that the Hanafuda earrings, which have been passed down in their family for generations, will one day be Tanjiro's. Back in the present, Tanjiro combines his water breathing with this new fire breathing to create Hinokami Kagura Dance. His blade ignites and slices through Rui's strongest threads. Despite getting slashed constantly, Tanjiro keeps propelling himself towards the demon, and he's not the only one with a new move, as Nezuko's desire to save her brother manifests into a new blood demon art, Exploding Blood. She ignites her own drops of blood to burn away all the threads in Tanjiro's way. Tanjiro's new move combines with burning drops of blood on his sword, and even with his broken blade, he decapitates the number 11 ranked demon. Damn! What a badass combo! Episode 20, Pretend Family. Tanjiro's victory is very short-lived, because it turns out that right before he could hit Rui with his Nichirin sword, the demon severed his own head with his threads and then reattached it. Tanjiro is completely exhausted and barely able to move. But here comes Giyu to the rescue once again. He uses Water Breathing's 11th form, Dead Calm, which Tanjiro didn't even know existed. It causes all movement around Giyu to completely cease, including Rui's webs. Before Rui can even blink, Giyu steps forward and decapitates him for real. Even a lower Kizuki is no match for this guy. Most of this episode is about how Rui's messed up little family came to be, and I won't spend too much time on it. Basically, in an attempt to relive his life from when he was human, Rui had been collecting demons and sharing some of his power with them to create a family for himself. But their bonds were always based in fear and violence, and Rui was frustrated that it never felt like a real family. When he saw the love between Tanjiro and Nezuko, he was finally reminded of what it truly feels like to be part of a family.
We're only playing house. What? There's no blood relation. We're just a band of strangers.
Sister, the one surviving demon, tries to escape the mountain but is stopped by Shinobu. Sister begs for forgiveness and claims that she was forced into this lifestyle by Rui, but Shinobi knows that Sister has devoured dozens of humans willingly and isn't about to let that slide. Shinobu's sword is so thin that it isn't even capable of beheading a demon, but it infects Sister with a deadly poison that has her dead within seconds.
Insect breathing, butterfly dance, and caprice.
These Hashira are seriously no freaking joke. Episode 21, Against Core Rules. This episode starts off with even more backstory for a demon that's already been killed. Yeah, we'll get used to it. When he was a human, Rui used to be a very frail and sickly child. One day, Muzan appeared before him and offered him strength in exchange for his humanity. He accepted, but when his parents discovered him eating someone, they tried to kill their own son. Rui was forced to kill his own parents in self-defense. As he turns to ash on Mount Natagumo, Rui apologizes to his parents and regrets that he likely will be going to hell, where he won't be able to see his family. Then, the spirits of his parents appear and tell Rui that wherever he goes, they'll all go together. And they all go to hell as a happy family. Happy ending? I don't think so. Tanjiro consoles the dying demon, but Giyu tells him not to waste his time on such monstrous creatures. However, Tanjiro, with a demon sister of his own, sees it a little differently. When Giyu notices Nezuko, he's surprised at how different she seems from the last time they met. You know, when he tried to kill her?
When it comes to those who felt despair and regret from the actions they took as a demon, I will never disrespect them!
Suddenly, Shinobu comes flying out of the darkness and tries to behead Nezuko, but Giyu jumps in to block her. Aww, and just 20 episodes ago, he was the one trying to kill her. Meanwhile, the Demon Slayer's support staff, known as the Kakushi, administer antidotes and medicine to all the wounded slayers on the mountain. They remark that if Zenitsu hadn't killed the spider demon when he did, the poison would have been much stronger and none of the slayers would still be alive. They also rescue Inosuke, who is devastated at his own weakness for not being able to take down a single member of the demon family. Hey now, Inosuke, you had some nice assists! Giyu tells Tanjiro to take his sister and run while he holds off Shinobu, which is, of course, completely against the rules of the Slayer Corps. Tanjiro is just barely able to pull himself to his feet and run, but he's soon attacked by a young female Slayer who was one of the survivors at Final Selection. She tries to kill Nezuko, but a crow swoops in with orders for Tanjiro and Nezuko to be taken into custody alive.
Did she just shrink into a child?
Tanjiro passes out, and when he wakes up, he finds himself in the presence of all the assembled Hashira. Oh no, our boy is in deep trouble! Episode 22, Master of the Mansion. Whoo boy, we've got quite the cast of characters to introduce here. We've already met the water and insect Hashiras, but with them is the fiery and righteous flame Hashira Kyojuro Rengoku, the flashy and stylish sound Hashira Tengen Uzui, and the beautiful, merciful love Hashira Mitsura Kanroji. But wait, there's more! We've got the stone Hashira Gyome Himejima, a gentle giant who is blind and almost always praying. The mist Hashira Miyuchiro Tokito, who is a bit spaced out. And of course, who could forget the serpent Hashira Iguro Obanai, an aloof and unforgiving swordsman who only cares about strength. Whew! Anyway, the Hashira demand that Tanjiro explain to them why he's been traveling around with a demon, and he tells them the whole story. The Hashira aren't too keen on trusting a newbie like Tanjiro, but they decide to wait until their master arrives to make judgment. Tanjiro is wondering where Nezuko is when she gets brought in by our last Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa, the Wind Hashira. He's by far the most impulsive and aggressive of the bunch, so much so that bro is ready to kill Nezuko right here and now. He stabs through Nezuko's box and injures her shoulder, causing Tanjiro to bolt forward and headbutt Sanemi, surprising all the Hashira.
Pardon me.
Before the Wind Hashira can get his revenge, they're interrupted by the return of their master, Kaguya Ubuyashiki. We finally get our first look at the head Demon Slayer's face, and it seems like he has some kind of mysterious illness. The top half of his face is all scarred up, making him blind. The Hashira instantly kneel before Kaguya, and he wastes no time in saying that it's totally cool with him if Tanjiro keeps traveling around with Nezuko. Cool boss alert! He reads a letter from Urokudaki saying he'd stake his life betting that Nezuko would never hurt a human. That sly dog Urokodaki never mentioned it, but he used to be a Hashira himself, so his words carry a lot of weight. The Hashira have their doubts, but their deep love and admiration for the master outweighs them all. For everyone except Sanemi, that is. That jerk drags Nezuko's box into the shade, cuts his own arm to draw blood, and repeatedly stabs Nezuko to try and provoke her into attacking. What a psycho! Episode 23, Hashira Meeting. Nezuko climbs out of her box and growls at Sanemi, but she remembers her life as a human and is able to turn away from the fresh blood. The master takes this as proof that Nezuko can be trusted, but he tells Tanjiro that they won't be fully accepted into the core unless he and Nezuko can take down one of the 12 Kizuki by themselves.
Let's start by defeating a 12 Kizuki first.
Yes, sir.
Then, Shinobu offers to take the siblings in while they recover, and they're carried off by 2 Kakushi. As he's leaving, the master tells Tanjiro to give his regards to Lady Tamayo. Tanjiro is brought to Shinobu's estate, the Butterfly Mansion. There, he encounters the girl who attacked him and Nezuko on Mount Natagumo, and it turns out she's the adopted sister of Shinobu, Lady Kanao Tsuyuri. She's super quiet and doesn't respond to anything the Kakushi ask her, so they just bring Tanjiro inside. There, he reunites with Zenitsu, who's still completely freaking out over the whole spider experience, and Inosuke, who's still completely depressed over his own weakness. Pull it together, guys!
That girl's been yelling at me ever since I arrived at this place also!
Hey, stop crying on me. I've got nothing to do with this.
Tanjiro is grateful that he and his friends all survived their last mission, and vows to get stronger so they never have a close call like that again. At a Hashira meeting that night, the Slayers discuss how demons seem to be getting bolder in their attacks against humans, and are disappointed in how useless most of the Slayers were in the last mission. But the Master remains hopeful and tells them that they are the strongest group of Hashira there's been in hundreds of years. He also believes that the appearance of Tanjiro and Nezuko might be a sign that something big is coming, and swears that he will take down Muzan if it's the last thing he does. Episode 24, Rehabilitation Training. Our main trio continues to recover at the Butterfly Mansion. Also, living there is the strict caretaker, Aoi Kanzaka, and her 3 young helpers, Naho, Kiyo, and Sumi, plus the quiet Lady Kanao and Shinobu, of course. Once they're recovered enough, it's time for the boys to start their rehab, but it's no picnic. Tanjiro and Inosuke train for 2 weeks before Zenitsu is even recovered, and every day they come back completely exhausted, making Zenitsu terrified to join them, which is par for the course.
All you did was frolic with girls all day, so why did you come back looking all haggard like that? Apologize and drop dead!
The boys start their training slowly and regain their strength, but no matter how much they improve, none of them are ever able to get close to beating Kanao in a reflex training game, or a game of tag. Pretty soon, Zenitsu and Inosuke give up and stop coming to training entirely. Tanjiro wonders how she's able to move so fast while remaining so composed, and the 3 helpers tell him it's because she's able to maintain total concentration breathing 24/7. At first, he's unable to do it for more than like a little bit each day, but the girls bring him hollowed out gourds and tell Tanjiro to train his lungs until he can explode the gourds just by blowing into them. So, Tanjiro's greatest strengths are giving headbutts and blowing really hard? I'll take my leave now. Weeks go by, and one day while training, Shinobu commends Tanjiro on not giving up. He asks why he always smells a faint sense of anger coming from her. Shinobu explains that she had an older sister named Kane, who was sympathetic to demons but ended up being killed by one. Because of this, Shinobu has an unending rage towards demons, but a part of her wants to carry on her sister's wish to find a way humans and demons can coexist. These conflicting emotions place a huge toll on Shinobu, and she asks Tanjiro to carry on her sister's wish in her place. How about you take care of your own problems, ma'am? Episode 25, Tsuguko Kanao Tsuyuri. This episode continues with our MC's training arc. Tanjiro asks Kanzaka's 3 helpers to beat him with sticks anytime he stops his total concentration breathing, even in his sleep. He trains tirelessly while the other 2 boys continue to slack off, but he is still not fast enough to catch Kanao, who still hasn't said a word. When Kanao was young, she was sold off as a slave by her impoverished parents. She was later rescued by Shinobu and Kanae, who took her in as an apprentice. At first, she wasn't able to do anything by herself, but Kanae gave her a coin and told her to flip it anytime she needed to make a decision. Women supporting women. Back in the present, Haganezuka comes by to deliver Tanjiro's new swords, and he's not too happy about Tanjiro damaging his work.
Over here! Long time no see! How have you been since we...
Inosuke gets 2 pristine new swords from a much calmer swordsmith, and he immediately smashes them with rocks to make them serrated. Him and Haganezuka truly deserve each other.
You dirty swine! That's it! Dead man!
After repeated failures, Tanjiro is finally able to catch Kanao in a game of tag, and the boys are deemed ready to return to combat. He asks Shinobu if she knows anything about the breathing technique his dad taught him. She says that she hasn't heard of it. Rengoku, the flame Hashira, uses something called flame breathing, which is similar to what Tanjiro was describing, but is actually a completely different thing. The episode ends with a preview of our next arc, a demon devouring a woman aboard a train. Yo, goosebumps! Episode 26, New Mission. The final episode of Season 1 starts with a meeting of the Kizuki. The lower 6 Kizuki are summoned to Muzan's lair, an endless, shifting labyrinth of rooms called the Infinity Castle. The entire space is controlled by a demon with a biwa, a stringed instrument. Muzan is furious at Rui's defeat, and when one of them thinks a bad thought about Muzan, the demons are shocked to learn that their master is even capable of reading their minds. The offending demon is consumed by Muzan, who then starts slaughtering the rest of the lower ranks. Damn!
Why is this happening? Am I next? After all I went through to become a 12 Kizuki, why?
Soon, there's only one demon left, named Enmu, and he's enough of a freak that Muzan lets him live and even gives him more of his blood. Muzan tells Enmu to find and kill the Slayer with the Hanafuda earrings. Our main trio gets their next mission. They are to report to the Mugen Train where over 40 people have gone missing, and there they will join the Flame Hashira Rengoku. Before he leaves, Tanjiro says goodbye to Kanao, who has finally started talking to him, because a coin flip told her to. Tanjiro says they should do one last coin flip, and if it's heads, Kanao will listen to her heart from now on. By pure luck, he gets heads, and Kanao holds the coin close to her as Tanjiro departs. The trio thanks everyone at the Butterfly Mansion and says their farewells. At least they're aware of it. The boys and Nezuko reach the Mugen Train, which Inosuke thinks is a giant metal monster, and are off on their next mission. The first feature film in the Demon Slayer canon opens with Master Kaguya walking through a graveyard of fallen Demon Slayers. His assistant says that due to his failing health, he shouldn't push himself, but he insists that as long as he is in charge, he will remain committed to avenging his children. He even knows the name of every single member of the Demon Slayer Corps, living and dead. Like I said, the guy's just a great boss. Aboard the train, our trio meets up with the Flame Hashira Rengoku, and he's a straightforward kind of guy who always says what's on his mind. Sometimes way more than he needs to. He's a little strange, but Tanjiro can tell Rengoku has a very kind heart and a strong sense of justice. It's not long before the Slayers encounter their first foe aboard the Mugen Train. The lights flicker, and suddenly, standing at the end of the train car is a hulking demon. Rengoku stands up and wastes no time in launching flame-breathing first form Unknowing Fire. He bolts forward and decapitates the demon instantly. Sorry to our main trio, but it seems like the Hashira has got this handled. They continue down the train until they come upon a long-armed demon. Inosuke rushes in blindly and almost gets it, but Rengoku is so fast that he saves Inosuke and a passenger before the demon even knows what's happening. He uses second form Rising Scorching Sun, where his blade gets hotter than Satoru Gojo, and kills the demon with one sword swing. The boys look on amazed and ask Rengoku if he'll take them all in as apprentices. Well, that was their fastest mission yet. Later that night, everyone on board the train is soundly asleep. The train's conductor bursts into an empty car crying, saying that he had followed orders and put everyone to sleep using enchanted tickets. In exchange, he wants to be reunited with his dead family. A disembodied hand appears in front of him and instantly puts him into a deep sleep where he will dream that he is with his wife and daughter. Then the hand turns to a group of children and tells them if they take care of the sleeping slayers, they too will experience peaceful dreams. The owner of that hand and the demon behind all these sleep shenanigans is Enmu, the number 7 ranked Kizuki. Standing on top of the train, he says that no matter how strong a person is, they're always vulnerable to their own desires and can be killed by destroying their spiritual core.
To die while in the rapture of a dream. A blessing indeed. It doesn't matter how powerful a demon hunter you are.
The kids each tie themselves to one of the slayers with a length of rope and then go to sleep, which allows them to enter the Slayer's dreams. What in the name of Freddy Krueger? In Tanjiro's dream, he's walking through the snowy forest back at his home. His family is still alive here, and he tearfully reunites with them. Zenitsu, predictably, is dreaming of running through a field with Nezuko, while Inosuke dreams of being on a cave survey team with weird animal hybrid versions of his friends battling a giant train monster. Whatever floats your boat, buddy. Rengoku's dream has him back at home telling his father he became a Hashira, but his dad is such a jerk that even in this magic dream he can't be nice, and he tells Rengoku that he'll never amount to anything. He at least has a younger brother named Senjuro who looks up to him, and they share an emotional moment. Within each of these dreams, Enmu's child minions are creeping around looking for the Slayer's spiritual cores to destroy. The girl tied to Rengoku finds his core, but his survival instinct is so great that while still asleep, he grabs her by the neck and wakes her up. Nezuko hears this commotion and tries her best to wake her older brother up by encasing him in her burning blood. He bursts into flames in his dream, and once he realizes what's going on, he's forced to say goodbye to his family once again. Meanwhile, the kids in Inosuke and Zenitsu's dreams are not having a good time. Turns out, entering the subconscious of those two freaks was a really bad idea. The kid in Zenitsu's head definitely drew the short straw.
What the hell is a guy doing in this area? You parasite! The only person who's allowed here is Nezuko!
Tanjiro is looking for a way out of his dream when he hears his father's voice telling him the only way to wake up is to turn his sword on himself. Without hesitating, Tanjiro slashes his own neck and wakes up. Nezuko burns away the rest of the ropes, but the other slayers still won't wake up. The kids do wake up though, and they are pissed, because they really want the eternal dreams that Enmu promised them. Come on kids, don't you know if you want your whole life to be an amazing dream, all you have to do is visit Jar Anime and watch any of our awesome videos? Just saying. Tanjiro has to knock out 3 of them, but the 4th minion reveals that the inside of Tanjiro's subconscious was so deeply beautiful that he couldn't bring himself to stab the core. Wow! Tanjiro climbs on top of the train and comes face to face with Enmu. He charges forward and Enmu uses his creepy mouth hand to put Tanjiro back to sleep, but Big Bro immediately wakes up. Over and over, Enma uses his spell and he can't understand why it isn't working. Then he realizes, the spell is working, but every time Tanjiro enters the dream, he retains awareness and immediately slashes his own neck. The willpower of this kid is insane. Tanjiro plows ahead and is able to easily behead Enma. Too easily. Sure enough, a mass of flesh shoots out of Enma's head and attaches to the train. He tells Tanjiro that he has fused himself so that the entire train is now his body, and he's about to start devouring the 200 passengers on board. I guess Inosuke was right. The train is a giant monster. Meanwhile, Nezuko was able to wake Inosuke and Rengoku up with her burning blood, and they're eager to join the battle. Plus, Zenitsu seems to have finally remembered that fighting while asleep is literally his whole thing, and he joins the fray as well. Every train car starts growing tendrils of flesh that try to hurt the passengers, but Rengoku is so quick that he is able to protect 5 cars at once, while Nezuko and Zenitsu each take 1. Tanjiro and Inosuke search for Enma's real head, and they soon sniff it out up near the engine. Enma keeps pulling his sleep trick, and Tanjiro gets so disoriented that he nearly slashes his neck in real life. Fortunately, Inosuke's mask protects him from the spell, and he stops his buddy from what would have been a pretty embarrassing way to go out.
Eyes of forced unconscious sleep. Dream.
Then, Tanjiro gets stabbed by that shady conductor, which itself is pretty embarrassing for a guy who's fought such powerful demons. They knock him out, and Inosuke uses his beast breathing to expose the neck bone at the base of the train. Tanjiro uses Hinokami Kagura, the OP technique he learned back on Mount Natagumo. He slashes through the neck and severs Enma's real head. With his dying breath, Enma derails the train and tries to take as many passengers with him as possible. But Rengoku's flame breathing cuts away the demon flesh, and he saves every single civilian. Rengoku commends an injured Tanjiro on his strength, but this fight isn't over yet. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the darkness, and Tanjiro is horrified to read the markings in his demon's eyes. He's the upper rank 3 Kazuki, Akaza. Akaza launches forward to attack Tanjiro, but Rengoku blocks him. Akaza can tell this guy is crazy strong and offers to turn him into a demon. He kinda spouts some crap about how no matter how strong a human gets, they will always someday grow old and weak, while demons are able to keep gaining strength for all of time. Rengoku just smiles and responds that yeah, that's kinda the whole point of being human, and he would never give that up. Akaza activates his blood demon art, Destructive Death Compass Needle. It enhances all of Akaza's fighting abilities, and the dude is already an insanely skilled fighter in hand-to-hand combat.
In all my years, I've never gotten to kill a flame Hashira. No one has yet to take me up on my offer either.
He and Rengoku exchange blows, but every hit that the flame Hashira lands is instantly healed, while his own stamina is slowly chipping away. Rengoku unleashes every flame-breathing form he knows, while telling Tanjiro and Inosuke to stay back. They're forced to watch, fully aware that these two fighters are on a whole different level from them. The battle reaches an insane pitch where the rookie slayers can't even follow with their eyes. But when the dust settles, they can tell that Rengoku has been critically injured. Even still, he's not about to let anyone get hurt on his watch, and Rengoku plans to damage Akaza as much as possible with a single attack. He uses flame-breathing esoteric art to strengthen his body, and the two warriors launch towards each other. But the third-ranked demon is just too powerful, and soon Tanjiro is devastated to see that Akaza has punched straight through Rengoku's chest.
Set your heart ablaze. Overcome your limits. I am the Flame Hashira! Kyojuro Rengoku!
Akaza offers one last chance for Rengoku to become a demon, but the Hashira remembers words that his late mother said to him when he was young. It is the duty of those born strong to protect the weak. Even with his fatal injury, Rengoku drives his sword into Akaza's neck and holds him in place while the sun begins to rise. Tanjiro sees the opportunity to help and rushes forward, but before they can reach him, Akaza tears off his own arms and runs into the forest. Tanjiro hurls his sword at the fleeing demon and it hits him right in the back, but Akaza just keeps running. Well, there goes another sword. Tanjiro screams after Akaza, telling him that he is a coward and that Rengoku won the fight by successfully protecting every human life. Yeah, I kinda doubt the demon would give two hoots about name-calling. Then, Tanjiro kneels right in front of the dying Hashira. Rengoku tells him to go visit his family estate, where he might find more information on the Hinokami Kagura. He also asks Tanjiro to deliver messages to his family, and says that he will be happy to die so that the younger Slayers can live and reach even greater heights. He leaves them with the final words, "Set your heart ablaze." Rengoku sees his mother in the distance, and passes on peacefully with the sun shining and a smile on his face. Our main trio grieves the loss of the strongest and most honorable swordsman they've met so far. Few characters are able to boast the amount of impact that Rengoku had, and in such a short amount of screen time. Rest in peace to a true legend. Tanjiro's crow flies around to the other Hashira, delivering news of Rengoku's death and Akaza's escape. When Master Kaguya learns what happened, he states that he is not saddened by this news, but that he only feels pride for what his children were able to accomplish, and looks forward to joining Rengoku in the afterlife soon. I'm not crying. Season 2, Episode 1, Sound Hashira Tengen Uzui. Season 2 kicks off with a special hour-long episode. A couple discusses their adopted son Toshikuni, a kind and intelligent boy with an allergy to sunlight. Inside his room, Toshikuni is researching a plant called the blue spider lily when he gets a visit from Akaza. It turns out this boy is actually Muzan in disguise, and the guy's got a whole bunch of different identities he's living out all at once. He's a father, a son to this couple, and he commands a demon army? Guess this guy's true power is multitasking. Akaza reports on what happened at the Mugen Train. Instead of getting a little head rub for taking out a freaking Hashira, the Demon Lord belittles Akaza for only being able to kill a single human. Ouch! To make matters worse, Akaza can't help but remember how Tanjiro called him a coward as he ran away. Bro looks pissed. I guess he does give a damn about name-calling. Anyway, the boys are supposed to be back in the Butterfly Mansion to recover, but Tanjiro has a mission to carry out, against Doctor's orders. He travels to Rengoku's home and meets his younger brother Senjuro. He says he has messages to deliver, but Rengoku's crappy dad Shinjuro is drunk and says he is uninterested in hearing a worthless message from a talentless loser son that got himself killed. Okay, hear me out. The only explanation for a father being this awful is that he must secretly be a demon. Like, for real? Anywho, when Deadbeat Dad sees Tanjiro's earrings, he gets even angrier and reveals that Hinokami Kagura is actually a breathing form called sun breathing, the original and most powerful form that all other forms descended from. Tanjiro has had enough of this guy and charges him, but this is the former Flame Hashira he's up against, and we know there's only one move that works against a Hashira, a swift headbutt. Later, Shinjiro has staggered off to find more booze, and Tanjiro delivers his message to Senjuro. The little bro is grateful to Tanjiro and gives him a notebook that has more information on sun breathing and the Hinokami Kagura, but when they open it, they find that Shinjiro has ripped out all the pages. Senjuro promises he will try his best to restore the book and gifts Tanjiro with Rengoku's flame-shaped sword guard. Then we see Shinjiro in the backyard, and the guy is sobbing over the death of his son. Okay, it's nice to see he does actually care. As he's walking back to the Butterfly Mansion, Tanjiro runs into the very last guy he wants to see, his swordsmith, Hagenezuka. The guy is furious that Tanjiro has lost yet another sword, and it seems to have destroyed what little sanity Hagenezuka has left. He chases Tanjiro around with a knife for an entire day. This guy is an actual nutjob, in case you were wondering. For 4 months, the boys continue to train and go on missions, and they even reach a point where Zenitsu allegedly stopped complaining about having to go on solo missions. I'll believe it when I see it. One day, as he is returning from a mission, Tanjiro sees the Sound Hashira Tengen Uzui, and he appears to be kidnapping the caretaker Miss Aoi and the helper girl Naho. The other girls beg for Tengen to release them, and he is stopped by Kanao. Tanjiro runs forward, excited to check another Hashira off his headbutt bucket list. But Mr. Flashy here is a former shinobi, and he vanishes in a split second. Tengen says he needs female corps members for an undercover mission, but Tanjiro offers to have him and his boys take their place. Tengen agrees, and he sets out with our trio for Japan's flashiest, shiniest demon hotspot, the Entertainment District. Episode 2, Infiltrating the Entertainment District. Welcome to the Entertainment District, boys and girls. Of course, in this case, the word entertainment is code for gambling and work. Damn! I was hoping for arcades and karaoke. Inosuke is completely overwhelmed by the amount of people, and Zenitsu is overwhelmed by, well, you can already guess. Tengen tells the boys they're here to try and track down his 3 wives who went missing while investigating disappearances in the district. Yeah, you heard that right. The super flashy Tengen naturally has to have 3 hot ninja wives. In order to find them, the boys are going to have to go undercover as the new girls in 3 different entertainment houses. Kinda nervous about what this will mean for Zenitsu's development, to be honest. Tanjiro manages to get hired at one house due to being so obedient and hardworking. Inosuke gets hired at another because he's genuinely just beautiful, and Zenitsu gets a job at the last one because he's actually really good at playing the shamisen. I think bro should stick to music instead of being a demon slayer. Oh well.
If you take her, you can have her clean the toilets or do whatever you want, really. Hell, you don't even have to pay. Just take her!
While doing some chores, Tanjiro overhears some other girls talking about how their house's headmistress, called the Oiran, recently died from falling out a window. Suma, one of Tengen's wives, disappeared from the house not long after. Tanjiro tries to tell the girls that Suma is his older sister to get more information, but he's such an honest guy that it is physically impossible for him to lie. On the district rooftops, Tengen surveys the area. He remarks that if a demon is able to hide for this long from a Hashira, it is likely an upper-rank Kizuki. We then see somewhere in the district, another one of Tengen's wives, Makio, is tied up by long pink sashes, and she's being interrogated by a demon. Episode 3. What are you? Inosuke learns that Makio also disappeared recently from the house he's working in, and so he decides to investigate her room. He notices a breeze in the room despite the windows being closed, and detects a demon in the attic above. The demon flees through the passageways of the house, and since Inosuke is more used to wearing pants no shirt instead of robe no pants, his senses are dulled and the demon gets away. At least, that's the excuse he uses. Zenitsu hears a young girl crying and enters her room to check on her. A woman wearing a pink sash appears behind him, and Zenitsu is immediately aware that this woman is actually an incredibly powerful demon. She's the new Oiran of this house, and she's not the friendly cookie baking kind. She grabs the young girl's ear and demands she starts cleaning, when Zenitsu grabs the Oiran's wrist.
Start cleaning, brat! I'm sorry. Forgive me, Oiran. I'll clean it all up. Just please let go.
Then, we jump back a few days earlier to see this demon getting a visit from Muzan. He addresses her as Daki, the number 6 ranked Kizuki, and commends her on eating so many people, including 7 Hashira. Daki can control the fabric of her sash at will and use it to smash, strangle, or absorb anyone in her way. Damn, this is the first time we've seen Muzan actually compliment a demon. I'm not so sure Zenitsu is ready for this smoke. Sure enough, our blondie boy gets hurled right through the wall, and the way he lands to minimize damage tips Daki off that he's a demon slayer. Oh no. Episode 4, Tonight. Tanjiro and Inosuke meet up with Tengen, who let them know that Zenitsu has gone missing. He tells them the mission has gotten too dangerous for low-level slayers like them and they should go home. Of course, the one slayer who would actually listen to that advice just disappeared. Inosuke tells Tanjiro about his encounter with the demon, and they plan to search Inosuke's house together that night. Tanjiro is running across the rooftops when he smells some demon stench. He enters a house to see Daki absorbing a woman into her sash. He demands Daki let the woman go, but she swats him away easily.
I'm too late. But what's going on? I can't see Miss Koinatsu's body. She's not bleeding.
The strap on Nezuko's box snaps, and Tanjiro is forced to set it down on the rooftop. He uses Water Breathing's fourth form to slice the sash and separate the section with the woman inside. Daki is quite impressed and compliments Tanjiro's beautiful eyes. Tanjiro raises his blade and prepares to fight an upper-rank Kazuki alone. Phew, good luck, kid. Episode 5. Things are gonna get real flashy. Tengen has found one of his wives, Hinatsuru, also bound in Daki's sash. She alerts him to Daki's identity and apologizes for not being stronger, but he tells wifey that he's very proud of her and she could escape the district as soon as she can. Tengen uses his super hearing to find Daki's underground lair. Daki points out that Tanjiro's brand new sword is already super chipped, and he curses himself for not being more adept with water breathing. Sun breathing feels much more natural to him, but the toll it puts on Tanjiro's body is excruciating. Still, in this situation he doesn't have much of a choice, and so he uses a breathing technique to raise his body temperature before striking with Hinokami Kagura Raging Sun. Daki sends her sash right through Tanjiro's throat, but apparently Bro has learned some ninjutsu or something, because it's just a decoy. The real goal is to strike from behind. He sees the opening thread, but Daki is still way faster and swats him away again. Over in Inosuke's house, he's rampaging through the walls and floors looking for any trace of demons. He finds a tunnel that leads right to Daki's lair, an enormous cavern/pantry filled with victims trapped in her belt that Daki can consume whenever she gets hungry.
The hole leading straight to the demon's lair! Get ready to die, bastard!
Among them are Makio, Suma, and our boy Zenitsu. Inosuke frees the two women when suddenly Daki's sash, which is apparently fully sentient, starts attacking him. The sash starts yapping that since it isn't part of Daki's main body, there's no way Inosuke can put it down for good. It's about to start devouring some of the humans to gain strength, but the humans are protected by Suma and Makio. Makio is a brash, fearless fighter, while Suma is more of a neurotic and cowardly sort. Now, where have we seen this dynamic before? A sleeping Zenitsu then frees most of the victims with a single thunderclap and flash. That's what I've been saying! Next, Tengen enters the lair from above and slices up the remaining sash. He lands very flashily and apologizes to his wives for being late. After that, Makio gets a brief flashback. As Kunoichi, Makio and the others were trained to always put their mission above their own lives. When they were taken in by Tengen, he gave them a new flashy set of rules to live by. They are to always put their own lives before anything else, and leave most of the dangerous stuff up to him. Not sure flashy is the word I'd use to describe this rule, but you can't blame a guy for wanting to protect his wives.
But if I'm being completely honest, I'll always prioritize you three. So don't you die on me.
You can't be serious right now.
Tengen does a cool blade spin and announces from here on, things are gonna get real flashy. And I still don't know what he's talking about. As their fight goes on, Daki summons all her split-off pieces of sash from around the district and absorbs them into her body, making her way stronger. And unfortunately for Tanjiro, they're not fighting in the middle of nowhere this time. All the commotion has started to bring people out of their houses. With a single blow, Daki demolishes an entire block of houses, and Tanjiro can only look on horrified at the death and destruction around him. He starts to seethe with immense rage, and his eyes become bloodshot. Are we about to see Berserker Tanjiro? We then hear a letter that Tanjiro received from Rengoku's dad a few days earlier. He apologized for the way he acted and told Tanjiro that the mark on his forehead is something that only those chosen to wield sun breathing are born with. But Tanjiro's a little confused because he wasn't born with that mark. It was a childhood injury that he got protecting his younger brother when boiling water spilled on them. His father was born with that same mark, but Tanjiro believes he himself must not be a chosen user of sun breathing. Dog, you have the mark and you've already been using sun breathing. Just take the win! Daki wants to go find a Hashira since she thinks Tanjiro isn't even worth her time. But Rage Mode Tanjiro gives chase. She uses her Blood Demon Art 8-layered Obi Slash, a wide-range sash attack that Tanjiro can't dodge. He responds with Hinokami Kagura Burning Bones Summer Sun, and slices through each sash with ease. Daki is shocked to realize that she is actually starting to feel fear when facing this boy.
Don't you feel any pain? Are you human?
Tanjiro slashes her neck, but she turns it into fabric that is too soft and loose to slice through. So he does it again, faster this time, and he's actually about to behead Daki when he sees a vision of his younger sister begging him to take a breath. Tanjiro suddenly collapses on the ground, realizing he pushed his body way beyond its limits. Daki goes to finish him off, but gets a kick from Nezuko. Daki slices her in half with the sash, but now it's little sister's turn to go berserk. Her regeneration speed increases to the level of an upper-rank Kizuki. She grows larger and chomps right through that bamboo muzzle. Nezuko drives Daki into the ground with a mighty kick. You won't like Nezuko when she's angry. Episode 7, Transformation. Nezuko is taking glee in her torment of Daki, stomping on the demon again and again. Tanjiro hears the voice of his dead younger brother telling him to stop Nezuko before she goes too far. She's kicking so much ass, I'd say she can go on a little longer. Oh, or maybe not.
She stopped it? With her severed limbs? No, her coagulated blood is keeping them connected.
Nezuko kicks Daki through a house and then lunges toward an innocent human. Tanjiro grabs her just in time, but is spending all his strength on restraining Nezuko while Daki prepares her next attack. Then, Tengen appears and we're finally gonna see just what he's capable of. He tells Daki that she isn't the demon he's been searching for, and decapitates her in a split second. I mean, holy shit! That was way quicker than expected. Anyway, Tanjiro sings a lullaby to calm Nezuko down, and she goes right to sleep. Not the best timing, because this fight is far from over. And right on cue, a sickly-looking demon climbs out of Daki's severed neck and carries her to safety faster than Tengen can react. Daki starts sobbing and asks this new demon, who happens to be her older brother Gyutaro, to slaughter all the humans that hurt her. Gyutaro is insanely jealous of the flashy, handsome Tengen, and uses his blood demon art Flying Blood Sickles to send out razor-thin waves of blood. Tengen throws out bombs to escape and gets the rest of the civilians to safety. Then, Inosuke and Zenitsu finally arrive, and they all face off with the two upper-ranked demon siblings. Honestly, fingers crossed Zenitsu goes to sleep for this one. Episode 8, Gathering. Now, here's a small fact. Gyutaro's blades are coated in a deadly poison, and just the smallest scratch is needed to infect Tengen. Tengen's shinobi training supposedly made him immune to all poisons, but Gyutaro's is so strong that it's starting to have an effect. Tengen figures out that the only way to defeat these two is beheading them simultaneously. But even with his secret out, Gyutaro seems unfazed. After all, he's apparently killed 15 Hashira before this. Master Kaguya was right though, his current crop of Hashira is just built different. While Makio and Suma evacuate as many people from the district as they can, Inosuke and Zenitsu take on Daki, leaving the stronger demon to Tengen and Tanjiro. At first, Tanjiro is just deflecting the slashes coming his way, but he soon remembers his humble water-breathing roots. He uses flowing spin moves to redirect attacks and play defense for Tengen. Then, Hinatsuru appears on a rooftop and launches her secret weapon at Gyutaro, a kunai volley crossbow. The demon realizes they wouldn't launch such a weak attack unless the kunai were laced with something, so he attempts to block them all. Tengen distracts Gyutaro just enough for a single kunai to hit his neck, and a wisteria poison is able to halt his regeneration. Tanjiro sees the perfect opportunity to close in for a finishing blow. Episode 9, Defeating an Upper Rank Demon. In a flashback, Tengen and his wives pray at his family's grave. Tengen was raised by a merciless shinobi father, and 7 of his 9 siblings were dead by the time he was 15. This is why he tries to live his life in the flashiest, most decadent way possible, and encourages his loved ones to value their lives above all else. After praying, he enjoyed a delicious picnic with his 3 gorgeous ninja wives. Okay, whatever. Now back to the fight. Gyutaro is able to neutralize the poison just like that, and he forces the 2 demon slayers away with his blood demon art rotating circular slashes, flying blood sickles. I'm sorry, but these attack names just kill me sometimes.
Sound breathing. Fourth form. Constant resounding slashes!
Anyway, Gyutaro then bolts up to the rooftop and grabs Hinatsuru by the throat, which of course causes Tengen to recall another memory of watching the sunset with his 3 ninja wives. Back then, Hinatsuru asked if they can all retire from the Demon Slayer Corps once Tengen defeats an upper rank. Don't tell me she was just 1 day away from her pension! We then see Tanjiro, who is severely injured, but he refuses to let another person get hurt in front of him. He tries a Hinokami Kagura move, but he just doesn't have the stamina left for it. So he gets a little creative and combines water breathing with sun breathing to boost his movement ability while retaining his burning slashes. He slices off Gyutaro's arms and saves Hinatsuru. Well, if it's just as easy as breathing 2 different ways at once, why didn't you do it earlier? Ugh. Inosuke sees that Tengen is getting closer to decapitating Gyutaro, but he and Zenitsu aren't making much progress on their end. Tanjiro joins the 2 of them and says they'll have to strike Daki's neck from multiple directions to slice the fabric. Inosuke realizes his dual swords make him perfect for the job, and he charges straight forward while the other 2 block attacks from the slash. He reaches Daki and uses his blades to saw right through the fabric. Then, he runs off with Daki's head like a football, which is actually freaking diabolical.
6th Fang.
Tanjiro looks around to see if he can join back up with Tengen to finish the fight, but it seems like our flashy sound Hashira might have lost his first fight. Gyutaro appears by himself on the rooftops and stabs one of his scythes right through Inosuke's chest. Tanjiro then looks down below to see Tengen laying in a pool of his own blood with one of his arms separated. Tanjiro is completely stunned, and Zenitsu shoves him off the rooftop just in time to save him from the demon's biggest attack yet. As he falls to the ground and the city explodes around him, Tanjiro blames himself for this total defeat. Damn it! Episode 10, Never Give Up. Tanjiro passes out and dreams up a conversation with Nezuko. She tells him to stop blaming himself for every loss. She reminds him that their father lost his battle with illness and they don't blame him for that. As humans, all we can do is try our best and believe that the fight will always be carried on. He wakes up in a pile of burning rubble, and after seeing Nezuko is still safe in her box, affirms that he will do all he can despite the circumstances. Ugh, well, there goes that plan. Gyutaro gleefully taunts Tanjiro for his own weakness. He points to a bloody Inosuke on the ground, saying it only took 1 strike to kill him. Zenitsu is off to the side, struggling to get out from under a collapsed house, and Tengen will never play Xbox again. Gyutaro tortures poor Tanjiro, snapping his fingers and calling him a failure for not being able to protect his younger sister. Tanjiro grabs Nezuko's box and runs off. He doesn't get very far before Gyutaro kicks him right into a burning house. Tanjiro desperately throws pieces of debris at the upper rank, but it's hopeless. Gyutaro says he's starting to see something of himself in the pathetic Tanjiro, and offers to turn him into a demon so he can get strong enough to protect his family. Yeah, we don't do that around here, pal.
But I've got to know, how do you feel after all this? Being the only one to survive so disgracefully.
Here's the thing though, everything our MC's been doing has been leading to this moment. Gyutaro is finally close enough for a legendary all-time Tanjiro headbutt. But it gets worse. Gyutaro has trouble recovering from the headbutt and soon realizes that Tanjiro also stabbed him with one of the poison kunai. When Tanjiro was throwing debris, he made sure to include fragrant pouches to cover up the scent of wisteria. With a broken hand and a battered body, Tanjiro manages to lift his sword one more time and bring it down on Gyutaro's neck. But then he stops himself, because of course he does. He reflects on how he and Nezuko easily could have ended up in the same situation as these two demons if he'd been turned as well. Ugh, maybe it's not the best time for pondering, bud. Gyutaro pulls out the kunai and starts to neutralize the poison while Daki attacks Tanjiro with her sash. But the attack gets blocked by Zenitsu with an even faster version of Thunderclap and Flash, godlike speed. He reaches her neck in a blink and starts cutting through the fabric, but his body is so worn out that it is certainly the last time he'll be able to use that move. Meanwhile, Gyutaro recovers from the poisoning and repels Tanjiro's blade with his blood slashes. His movement speed keeps increasing and Tanjiro can't keep up, until he gets tagged out by a one-armed Tengen. And turns out he actually stopped his own heart to prevent Gyutaro's poison from circulating. What a legend! And if you didn't think that this whole time Tengen was preparing his own ultimate attack, you're dead wrong. Once he is used to an opponent's attack style, his musical score technique allows him to see all attacks as musical notes that he can read and predict. He repels all Gyutaro's slashes quite flashily, and the battle reaches an absolutely insane peak. Tengen takes multiple brutal hits, including a deep slash in the face, but keeps charging ahead despite them. Tanjiro leaps forward to seize the opportunity, but Gyutaro is prepared and stabs him right through the chin. Undeterred, Tanjiro summons every ounce of strength he has left, and the scar on his head transforms into a badass fiery mark. He starts slicing into Gyutaro's neck. Meanwhile, Zenitsu is just about out of strength when he gets an assist from Inosuke. You really thought a guy like him would be taken down by a scythe to the chest? He's so flexible he can shift his organs around, and growing up on a mountain has rendered him immune to poison. That explains why most wild animals are immune to poison. Wait. Anyway, he and Zenitsu strike Daki's neck together, and every Demon Slayer gives everything they have into one final push. The demons' heads separate, bouncing along the ground and land looking right into each other's eyes. As the poison starts to circulate through Tanjiro's body, he vaguely hears Tengen shouting that Gyutaro isn't done yet. The demon's body erupts into a massive self-destruct attack that levels the entire district. Unfreaking believable! Episode 11, No Matter How Many Lives. Imagine having to wait a week after that cliffhanger. Tanjiro wakes up in Nezuko's lap, unsure how he survived the poison. His body can't move though, so Nezuko has to carry him around. Yeah, let's see how she likes it for a change. Zenitsu is also awake, crying and complaining about whatever, but otherwise fine. Inosuke, on the other hand, may have overestimated his poison resistance, and his heart is starting to slow. Nezuko uses her exploding blood to burn away the poison and save his life. Tengen is in the same boat and trying to deliver his last words to his 3 stunning ninja wives, but Suma is crying so loud that he can't even get them out. But soon enough, Nezuko removes the poison and he's back to his flashy self. Looks like no casualties in this arc.
Just what do you think you're doing?
Or at least, none that matter. Sorry, Headmistress Omitsu. Gyutaro and Daki are bickering as their heads disintegrate, telling each other how worthless they are. Tanjiro covers their mouths, not wanting their last moments to be filled with resentment, and commends them on protecting each other all this time. Okay. Gyutaro calls out to his sister one last time with her human name, Ume. And now it's time for another lengthy flashback from demons that have already been defeated! Gyutaro and Daki were born into the poorest section of the entertainment district. suffering from both extreme poverty and abuse by their mother. Gyutaro was hated by all for being ugly and eating bugs, while Daki was a beautiful girl adored by everyone. Gyutaro used his ugly appearance to become a terrifying enforcer that was feared by all, and he protected his sister while she worked in the district. One tragic day, he came home to find Daki had stabbed an important customer in self-defense. As a result, she was burned at the stake.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! What did I do to deserve this?
Later, this sleazy customer returned and tried to kill Gyutaro, but Gyutaro defeated him and left town with his sister's body. They then stumbled upon an upper-rank demon who took pity on them and offered to bring them before Muzan to become demons. Back in the present, the two demons apologize to each other and reunite in the afterlife before walking into the fires of hell together. Does everyone in this world think you just get to choose who you hang out with in hell? Oh well. In other news, the serpent Hashira Obanai arrives and Tengen formally announces his retirement. Obanai refuses to accept it as they are already down one Hashira after Rengoku died. Tengen ignores him and says he believes Tanjiro will soon be taking the open spot. In his estate, Master Kaguya, looking sicker than ever, receives the news and he is ecstatic. He says that an upper rank hasn't been defeated in over 100 years, and this is a sign that Muzan will be defeated by this generation. And that brings an end to Season 2. Season 3, Episode 1, Someone's Dream. Starting off our third season, it's time for another check-in with the Human Slayer Corps over in Muzan's Infinity Castle. Safe to say the Demon Lord is not too happy with losing an upper rank, and he summons the rest of his upper Kizuki to express his frustration. The number 6 Gyutaro just bit the dust after we've already met the number 3 demon Akaza. But let's meet the other 4. Coming in at rank 5 is Gyoko, a weird guy that lives in a vase and has mouths for eyes. Creepy. Number 4 is Hantengu, an anxious little horned dude who comes off as way too weak for this high rank. Number 2 is Doma, a friendly, stylish demon. He actually leads his own cult and is the one who initially took in Daki and Gyutaro. Last but not least, our number 1 ranked Kizuki is Kokushibo, a 6-eyed samurai demon with a strangely familiar hairstyle. Muzan tells the Kizuki about Gyutaro's defeat and demands to know why his underlings have failed to find the rare blue spider lily. He seems to be cooking up some sort of science project, and this flower is the last ingredient.
Gyutaro is no longer with us, meaning the upper ranks are now incomplete.
Gyoko says he has uncovered the location of an important Demon Slayer target, but this toxic boss plucks Gyoko's head off and tells him he doesn't want to waste his time on anything that isn't fully confirmed. He tells Gyoko and Hantengu to go check out whatever it is and report back. Doma asks if he can tag along on the mission, and Akaza punches Doma's head off. Then, in a truly bizarre cycle of violence, Kokushibo slices Akaza's arm off. Suffice to say, this isn't the kind of workplace that'll be starting off a softball league anytime soon. Meanwhile, in an unknown time and place, a demon slayer with a fiery mark and Hanafuda earrings talks to a man who looks a lot like Tanjiro and is holding a baby. The man thanks the demon slayer for saving his family from demons and allowing their son to be born. He asks for the slayer's name so he can name his newborn child after him. The demon slayer refuses to answer and says he's no hero, as he has failed to protect everything important to him. Tanjiro awakens in a hospital bed and realizes this was all just a dream. Kanao comes to Tanjiro's bedside and lets him know it's been 2 months since the battle with Gyutaro. Zenitsu has already recovered and started going on missions again, and Inosuke, well, he seems livelier than ever. In no time, Tanjiro is back on his feet and ready for duty. But there's one problem. He sent his chipped sword to Hagenezuka for repairs, and the guy refuses to do any more work for a guy who keeps damaging his swords. Tanjiro has no choice but to travel to the Swordsmith Village himself. The location of the village is kept highly confidential to protect it from demon attacks, so Tanjiro has to travel blindfolded, carried by a series of kakushi who only know a small section of the route.
Whoa.
Tanjiro arrives and meets the village chief, Techin Tachikawahara. But let's just call him Chief. The chief tells Tanjiro that Haganezuka just went missing, but it's not all that uncommon for him. Chief says Tanjiro can just go chill in the hot springs until Haganezuka comes back. On the way there, he runs into Mitsuri, the love Hashira. Not just avoiding, but subverting the pervert trope. This is why I'll always love Big Bro Tanjiro. He also encounters Genya Shinazugawa, the final surviving member of Tanjiro's final selection. You know, the aggressive one whose arm Tanjiro almost broke? As his name suggests, he's the younger brother of the Wind Hashira Sanami Shinazugawa. Mitsuri tells Tanjiro that Sanami has always claimed to be an only child though, so it seems these two aren't on very brotherly terms. Then, Mitsuri tells Tanjiro about a rumor she heard where there's a secret weapon hidden somewhere in the village. Tanjiro's not about to pass up any opportunity to get stronger, so he and Nezuko begin exploring. They soon come across the Mist Hashira Muichiro arguing with a child from the village. Standing next to them is someone who looks very familiar to Tanjiro, the demon slayer with the Hanafuda earrings from his dream. Episode 2, Yorichi Type 0. Muichiro and the boy are arguing about some kind of key when the Mist Hashira knocks down the young boy. Tanjiro rushes in to help, but Muichiro knocks him down easily and asks to know what Tanjiro is hiding in his box. I guess he's forgotten that he was literally at the meeting where Master Kaguya gave Nezuko his blessing? Tanjiro asks the boy if he needs help, but he refuses and reiterates that he will never give up his key. Muichiro cruelly responds that it isn't the place of a swordsmith to question a Hashira. Since they've made him like 10 swords at this point, Tanjiro has to defend the swordsmiths, and he makes the good point that Hashira would be ultimately useless without them. Haganezuka is lurking in the forest and happens to overhear this. Maybe he'll make this next sword with extra love now. Muichiro isn't interested in hearing this though, and knocks Tanjiro out cold. When he wakes up, the boy named Kotetsu tells Tanjiro that he gave Muichiro his key. See, the demon slayer that Tanjiro saw next to them was actually a 6-armed combat training robot called the Yorichi Type 0. Kotetsu had the only key to activate it and was worried Muichiro would break it in training. Soon, they hear sounds of a fight nearby and see Muichiro sparring with the robot. Kotetsu tells Tanjiro this robot was based on a real-life demon slayer from 300 years ago. Turns out Kotetsu's fears were valid, because Muichiro demolishes the ancient one-of-a-kind robot. Muichiro's crow tells Tanjiro that his master's proficiency is all thanks to the fact he is descended from the user of sun breathing. Is it just me, or is this family tree getting a little bit confusing? Anyway, Kotetsu asks Tanjiro to get stronger so he can beat up Muichiro. The Yorichi is missing an arm, but it still works enough for Tanjiro to train with it. At first, Tanjiro is overwhelmed by the robot's speed, and Kotetsu isn't helping matters by insulting Tanjiro and telling him he can't eat or drink until he is able to beat the Yorichi. You're gonna let this pipsqueak boss you around like this, Tanjiro? Apparently, the answer's yes, and the training is so brutal that Tanjiro nearly dies from exhaustion. During his near-death experience, Tanjiro learns how to detect a new kind of scent that lets him predict his opponent's moves with more accuracy. Of all the ways he's gotten stronger, I sure wasn't expecting being starved by a child to make the list. But whatever. Tanjiro is eventually able to land a full-strength blow on the robot and shatters its head. This reveals that inside the robot hides an ancient sword. Episode 3. A sword from over 300 years ago. The boys are ecstatic because an ancient hidden sword has to be a really good sword, but when they unsheath it, they find that it's super rusty. In comes a huge, super jacked Haganezuka. He was lurking in the forest again, and the thought of restoring a legendary weapon like this was enough to trigger his Titan form. It turns out he hasn't been hiding at all, but training to be a better swordsmith, and sword polishing just happens to be his family's specialty. How convenient!
Mr. Haganeska's weak spots are his sides. All you've got to do is this. Tickle, 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 tickle.
I hope he can polish fast, because elsewhere in the village, a swordsmith is just walking about when he stumbles upon an innocent-looking vase. He leans in a little too close and gets pulled in and violently devoured by Gyoko. Gyoko and the little gremlin Hantengu are here to destroy the village and remove the Slayer's source of weapons. Uh-oh! Later, Muichiro visits Tanjiro to tell him that a swordsmith has gone missing. With absolutely no warning, Hantengu just runs straight into the room. Both Slayers recognize he's an upper rank and react immediately. Hantengu just cries and runs around the room, but it doesn't take long for Muichiro to behead the demon. Each section regenerates completely, creating 2 new and much more powerful forms. Unfair! One of these new Hantengus has a leaf wand that he uses to blow Muichiro straight through the wall, and the other has a lightning rod he zaps Tanjiro with.
Nezuko! Tokito!
Genya appears on the roof with one of the sickest weapons in the series, his Nichirin gun. He decapitates both of the new demons with Nichirin bullets, but they multiply once again to become 4 even stronger demons. One with wings grabs Tanjiro and blasts him into the ground with a sonic wave. Another with a spear skewers Genya. Yikes! Muichiro is running back to the battle when he sees Kotetsu running from a giant CGI koi fish monster. At first, he doesn't even want to help, but Tanjiro's kindness inspires him enough to save this child from becoming fish food. Good job, Muichiro! Episode 4. Thank you, Tokito. Kotetsu tells Muichiro that he was helping Haganezuka polish the sword in the woods when they were attacked by demons. He begs Muichiro for help, but the Mist Hashira's main priority is securing the main village. Then, Muichiro has a flashback to a time when he was attacked by a demon and lost his memory. Master Kaguya told him to trust his gut, and in time he would recover his memories. In the present, Muichiro's gut is telling him to go save Haganezuka. Tanjiro is about to get hit with another sonic blast, so he slashes the demon's head. It doesn't split into 2 this time, and Tanjiro realizes Hantengu can only create 4 bodies, with each one representing a different emotion. The winged one is joy, and he keeps swiping Tanjiro with his claws mercilessly.
Aren't they swift? Aren't they sharp? On top of that, they're strong enough to smash diamonds!
Nezuko and Genya are back with the other 3 demon bodies, and Genya is proving to be one tough customer. Even with a wound from the sadness demon that should be fatal, Genya gets right back to his feet and nearly beheads the demon in return. He's stopped by a lightning blast from the anger demon's staff. Nezuko gets the better of the pleasure demon and blasts him away with his own leaf wand. But she's then impaled and electrocuted by the anger demon. Man, Inside Out would have been way cooler if they had weapons like these. Tanjiro launches himself into Joy's back and hitches a ride to where his sister is fighting. The 2 of them just can't deal with the overwhelming amount of attacks. Pretty soon, they're knocked out by an enormous blast from pleasure that levels the whole building. Oh boy! Episode 5, Bright Red Blade. The village is completely overrun by Gyoko's fish demons, but they all get wiped out by the lovely Mitsuri. Her unique sword has the flexibility of a ribbon while still being as sharp as any blade. She saves the chief with her love-breathing, first form Shivers of First Love. What a coincidence! I also love breathing! Anyway, Muichiro reaches Haganezuka's workshop, but his path is blocked by Gyoko. The number 5 demon introduces himself to the Hashira and shows off a horrifying sculpture he's made out of his victims from the village. Muichiro attacks, but Gyoko can teleport between a bunch of different vases and sends out his fish minions to attack Kotetsu as a distraction.
What I especially take pride in is the vases.
There's barely any resistance.
Muichiro takes a hit from a bunch of needles while protecting the swordsmiths, and soon enough, Gyoko has him trapped in a water prison from one of his vases. It's simple, but effective. Unable to use any breathing techniques, Muichiro is helpless. Tanjiro wakes up to find Nezuko buried in rubble, desperately clutching his blade. Nezuko spills her blood onto the sword and then ignites it, causing the Nichirin blade to turn bright red. Then, Tanjiro sees another memory from his ancestors. The legendary slayer that the Yorichi Type 0 is based on also had a black blade that would turn red during intense battles. So, they have the same earrings, the same forehead mark, even the same sword, but they're not related. Okay. With his new burning blade, Tanjiro uses Hinokami Kagura's Sun Halo Dragon Head dance to decapitate 3 of the demons in a single move. That only leaves Sadness, who was just beheaded by Genya, but when Genya turns to Tanjiro, he looks like an absolute demon. What the what? Episode 6. Aren't you going to be a Hashira? Genya grabs Tanjiro by the neck and shouts at him that he will take out the upper rank by himself so that he can become a Hashira. Even in this demon mode, Tanjiro's kindness is so pure that Genya can't stay mad at the guy. But even after beheading all 4 demons at the same time, Hantengu's forms are still able to regenerate. Tanjiro focuses and is able to sniff out a 5th demon, the main body, hiding in the forest. He tells Genya to chase after it while he and Nezuko fight off the other 4. Genya finds the main body, but it's just a pathetic, minuscule version of the whimpering Hantengu. Looks can be deceiving though, because this guy is fast and tough. Genya slashes the demon and his sword snaps right in 2 without even leaving a scratch. Suddenly, Genya gets a surprise attack from anger aimed right at his neck, and he knows he's about to die. So his life flashes before his eyes. And our eyes! When Genya and Sanemi were young, they had an abusive father. He got killed in a bar fight though, leaving them with their kind-hearted mother and 4 younger siblings. One night, their mother didn't come home and Sanemi went to look for her. Then, a demonified version of their mother attacked and slaughtered all 4 younger siblings. Genya was saved by Sanemi, but forced to watch as his older brother killed their mother. He called Sanemi a murderer, and the 2 were forever split apart by tragedy. Seems like Genya might have a lot more in common with Tanjiro than he thinks.
From now on, it's up to you and me to do our best to protect our whole family.
Tanjiro saves Genya, and Genya immediately returns the favor by taking an absolutely brutal attack from Sadness. Genya tells Tanjiro to leave him behind, as Tanjiro is the only one with a chance at beheading the main body. Tanjiro runs after the main form and prepares to hit it with a Hinokami Kagura strike. Episode 7. Awful Villain. Tanjiro is able to make it halfway through Hantengu's neck when the power of Nezuko's blood finally runs out. Bad timing! Then, Tanjiro smells a demon behind him with an unfamiliar scent. The demon hits a drum and 5 massive wooden dragons emerge from the ground. The 4 emotions have merged into one extra powerful demon, a manifestation of the emotion hatred called Zohakuten. Bad news for Tanjiro, but great news for us, as it's gonna make the fight a lot easier to follow. The dragons wrap their bodies around Hantengu to protect him, and Zohakuten asks the Slayers how could they attack such a small defenseless guy. Seriously? An upper-ranked Kazuki is playing the victim card. Meanwhile, Muichiro is still chilling in his water prison, and he's basically given up completely after just 1 attack from Gyoko. Pretty embarrassing for a Hashira, if you ask me. Gyoko enters Hagenezuka's workshop and starts tormenting his friend Kanemori. Hagenezuka is so focused on polishing the ancient sword that he is entirely oblivious to everything going on around him. Gyoko attacks and taunts, But Haganezuka can only think about the beautiful craftsmanship of this sword. Gyoko even knocks off the swordsmith's mask, and he's beautiful.
Even I've never concentrated this hard on one of my pieces. As an artist, I can't help but feel inferior to him.
Kotetsu starts trying to break Muichiro out, but is attacked by one of Gyoko's fish demons. Critically wounded, Kotetsu expels the last of his breath into the water vase. This gives Muichiro just enough air to use mist-breathing second form 8-layered mist, which both sounds delicious and gets him out of this water prison. Episode 8. The Mu in Muichiro. Even out of his wet predicament, Muichiro still continues to be a bit of a letdown. The needles that hit him were poisoned, and he doesn't even have the strength left to save Kotetsu. Let's see if a flashback changes that. And not only are we learning his backstory for the first time, Muichiro is too, since he has amnesia. Isn't that neat? Muichiro's father was a lumberjack, and the two were very close. But Muichiro's mother fell very ill, and one night, Dad had to go to a dangerous mountain in a raging storm to try and find medicinal herbs. Muichiro lost both of his parents that night. He wasn't alone though, as he had a twin brother named Yuichiro. Yuichiro blamed his father for foolishly wasting his life and believed that compassion is a weakness. One day, Master Kaguya's wife Amane visited the brothers and told them they were descended from Yorichi, the creator of sun breathing. Muichiro wanted to become a swordsman, but Yuichiro told his brother that he was useless and would never be able to help people. After that, the two brothers stopped speaking to each other.
Just like Mother who told us she was fine, and then worked until she collapsed! Like Father who got killed trying to find some herbs!
Until one night when they were attacked by a demon. Yuichiro protected his brother, and upon seeing his twins severely injured, Muichiro went into a blinding rage and butchered the demon with gardening tools. As Yuichiro died, he prayed to the gods to protect his brother and let him help many people. He also states that the Mu in Muichiro stands for infinity. After this, Muichiro lost his memories and since has been living with his twin brother's cold personality as a way for Yuichiro to live on. Remembering all of this has now powered Muichiro up, and he's ready to show he's worthy of the Hashira title. Finally! A cloud-like mark appears on his face, similar to the one Tanjiro has. He rushes into the workshop, but Gyoko shoots some giant tentacles out of a vase that destroy the entire building. Even this isn't enough to stop Haganezuka from polishing though. Kanamori gives Muichiro a new special-made sword, and Muichiro slices up the tentacles with ease. He silently thanks his brother and prepares to slay the upper-ranked demon. Episode 9. Mist Hashira Muichiro Tokito. Muichiro nonchalantly slices his way through every attack Gyoko throws his way until the upper-ranked villain takes his true form, a scaly, serpent-like demon. He performs his demon blood art, Killer Fish Scales, to encircle Muichiro while closing in.
You've dealt with the immediate threat, but before those fish turn to dust, they'll disperse more poison.
Muichiro uses mist-breathing 7th form Obscuring Clouds to envelop Gyoko in a thick cloud of mist. He apologizes to the demon for not taking the fight seriously until now and beheads Gyoko before he can even realize what's happening.
Even the most jaw-dropping attack is pointless if you can't land it.
Muichiro passes out from Gyoko's poison, but he is aided by Kotetsu. Turns out he wasn't fatally wounded because the attack was blocked by Rengoku's sword guard. Tanjiro had given this to Kotetsu earlier to be used in his new sword. Rengoku is even saving people from beyond the grave. Best Hashira ever! Elsewhere in the forest, Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Genya are struggling against this new super powered-up demon. In addition to controlling the wooden dragons, Zohakuten can use the powers of all 4 emotions. Tanjiro gets swallowed whole by a dragon head and is about to be crushed when he's saved by Mitsuri. The love Hashira tells Tanjiro that she can take it from here and confidently rushes towards the number 4 ranked demon. Oh, new best Hashira? Episode 10. Love Hashira Mitsuri Kanroji. Mitsuri dances around Zohakuten's attacks, and she slices through countless wooden dragons. Tanjiro shouts at her that this isn't the main body, and she gets stunned by a sonic blast. Zohakuten is about to destroy her head with a punch when, you guessed it, we get a flashback about Mitsuri. At 17, Mitsuri was rejected from marriage by a man who said her hair color was unsettling, and only a wild beast would ever want a girl like her. Excuse me? This schlub really thinks he's too good for her? Men are unbelievable. Mitsuri has always been crazy strong, and even as a child she was able to beat sumo wrestlers at arm wrestling. All I'm hearing are more things to like about her. After her rejection, Mitsuri dyed her hair black and pretended to be weak to find a husband, but she was so unhappy rejecting her true self that she eventually found her way to the Demon Slayer core. There, all the things that made her different became her greatest strengths. So, not the most powerful backstory, and I find it hard to believe nobody wanted to marry this gorgeous, buff, super strong woman. But honestly, it's a nice change of pace from seeing someone's family get slaughtered by demons.
Here. What? What's this? What's this? Mr. Iguro, what's this?
Take them.
Back in the present, Mitsuri is saved by Tanjiro and vows to do a better job protecting the younger Slayers. She says she can take on Zohakuten by herself while the other three go after the main body. As she starts fighting, a heart-shaped mark appears on her neck. Huh. The Slayers soon find Hantengu hiding inside a knot of wood, and that crazy son of a gun Genya starts chewing right through it. Apparently, by consuming demon flesh, Genya can gain temporary abilities. I would have expected a lengthy flashback to accompany this reveal, but I guess not. Nezuko sprays her burning blood on the wood, and Tanjiro slashes through it. Hantengu slips out and the three start chasing him through the forest. Episode 11, A Connected Bond, Daybreak, and First Light. Our hour-long season finale opens with Tanjiro remembering some advice from Zenitsu about thunder breathing. Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy! Tanjiro focuses on the muscles in his legs and dashes forward with a clap of thunder. He uses his Hinokami Kagura and starts slicing through Hantengu's neck, but the demon grows into a giant version of himself that grabs Tanjiro's head. This guy has way too many tricks up his sleeve. Genya and Nezuko attack the giant Hantengu, allowing Tanjiro to break free. He slashes the demon again and drives him off a cliff, with Tanjiro and Nezuko following right behind. With a sword lodged in his neck, Hantengu sees some swordsmiths in the distance and runs towards them, looking for a little mid-fight snack to power him up. Suddenly, Muichiro appears with a special delivery. Tanjiro's legendary ancient super secret ultra sword. Haganezuka hasn't fully finished polishing it, but Muichiro decided it was good enough.
Are you out of your mind? Touch it and I'll kill you! I only honed it up to the first stage!
Tanjiro grabs it, bolts forward, and beheads Hantengu. There's no time to celebrate this victory, because Tanjiro realizes something terrible. The sun is about to come up, and there is nowhere for Nezuko to hide. Tanjiro runs towards his little sister, but Hantengu isn't done yet. He still has a main body hidden inside his own heart, and his headless body continues chasing the villagers. The sun rises, and Tanjiro is torn between protecting his burning sister with his own body and rescuing the villagers. Sweet Nezuko makes the choice for him, and she kicks Tanjiro towards Hantengu. Tanjiro flies through the air, forced to watch his one remaining family member turning to ash. Unwilling to let her sacrifice go to waste, Tanjiro pulls himself together and quickly dispatches Hantengu for good this time. Then, he falls to his knees in tears, having lost his one reason for coming this far. He hears something buzzing behind him, and turns around to see Nezuko, basking in the full sunlight, completely unharmed. The muzzle falls from her mouth, and she says to her big brother, "Good morning." Somehow, Nezuko has conquered her own weakness to sunlight and regained some of her own humanity. One person is more excited by this news than anybody else. Muzan, in his little boy disguise, is shaking with excitement after learning there is a demon who can withstand the sun. The ability to leave freely during the day is exactly what Muzan has been searching for, and what he was trying to create with the blue spider lily. He slaughters his own adopted mother and her maid. Then, Muzan reminisces on how exactly he came to be the first demon. As a young man, Muzan was cursed with an illness that doctors agreed would take his life before he turned 20. Desperate, he took an experimental medicine. At first, he believed it was a failure and became furious with the doctor who made it, killing him viciously. He later realized he was stronger than before, and the medicine worked. Oopsie. He slowly discovered his own demonic powers as well as his weakness to the sun, which frustrated him immensely. With this development, however, Muzan knows that his days of hiding in the sun are over as soon as he consumes Nezuko. The Demon Slayers all reunite and celebrate Nezuko's transformation. Haganezuka takes back the sword to finish polishing it, and Tanjiro bids farewell to the Swordsmith Village. They throw a big celebration for him as he leaves, and he's still carrying Nezuko in a box for some reason. I guess she just got used to it. Season 4, Episode 1. To defeat Muzan Kibutsuji. The final season kicks off with Sanemi and Obanai, the Wind and Serpent Hashiras, chasing a demon back to his hiding place, an abandoned castle. They enter the castle and find it infested with low-level demons that they cut through like butter. They chase the demon deeper until they find themselves in Muzan's Infinity Castle. The second they enter, they're sent right back out, and the two Hashira are left wondering what exactly they just saw. Tanjiro is back at the Butterfly Mansion for his recovery, while the Hashira meet to discuss the recent developments. Master Kaguya is too sick to even attend the meeting, and his wife Amane leads it in his place. She asks Mitsuri and Muichiro about the marks that appeared on them during their battle, and we finally learn more about these mysterious symbols. As usual, the story goes back hundreds of years to Yorichi, the legendary demon slayer who nearly defeated Muzan. He was the first to manifest a mark, but since then, anytime a mark appeared on one demon slayer, it can manifest onto others nearby, but only if specific criteria are met. The demon slayer must reach a heart rate of over 200 beats per minute and a body temperature of over 102 degrees. Most people would die instantly in these conditions, but if a demon slayer survives, they will manifest their marks and gain immense strength. The remaining Hashira make it their top priority to awaken their own marks, but Amane tells them that eventually something bad will happen to every demon slayer who awakens their mark. Something that shocks the Hashira. But of course, we don't get to hear it. Maybe it's just muscle cramps. Undeterred, the Hashira plan a brutal training regimen that will hopefully awaken as many marks as possible before Muzan launches a full-scale attack to take Nezuko. Zenitsu returns from his latest mission and is stunned to see Nezuko speaking and walking in the sunlight. He immediately proposes marriage, but Nezuko responds by calling him Inosuke. Yeah, she doesn't even think about you, bro. Tanjiro receives his new fully polished sword with the kanji for destroy etched into it. Inosuke bursts through the window and tells Tanjiro that the Hashira are holding a hellish training camp for the entire Demon Slayer Corps. Except Giyu, who for some reason doesn't want any part of it. What's his problem? The Corps begin their boot camp under Tengen, who has come out of retirement for some exhausting endurance training.
Hey, Lord Tengen! Lunch is just about ready!
Great!
After this, they'll move on to Morichiro's movement training, then Mitsuri's flexibility training. Next is swordsmanship with Obanai, then something called infinite slashing with Sanemi, and finally, muscle strengthening with Guillaume, the only Hashira we haven't seen in battle yet. All you fans of training montages out there, get hyped! Episode 2, Water Hashira Giyu Tomioka's Pain. Lady Tamayo gets a visit from a crow sent by Master Kaguya. The crow invites Tamayo to join the Demon Slayer Corps and help Shinobu study Nezuko after her transformation. She agrees and tells Yushiro they will be leaving for Kaguya's manor. Team up! Tanjiro also gets a message from Kaguya asking him to visit Giyu to ask him to join Hashira training. Miss Aoi makes him some rice balls and he sets off for Giyu's home. Tanjiro lets himself into Giyu's house and begs him to join the training. But Giyu just keeps refusing and saying cryptic emo things like, "I'm not the water Hashira." Yeah, that's called lying with a straight face. Tanjiro gives Giyu some rice balls and refuses to leave him alone all day and night. Giyu eventually gives in and tells Tanjiro about his final selection.
Will he stop stalking me and leave me in peace?
Giyu trained alongside Sabito, and during their test, Sabito slayed every demon on the mountain except the hand demon that killed him. Giyu was injured by the first demon he saw and passed without slaying a single one. Tanjiro reminds the Water Hashira that Sabito entrusted his dream of saving as many people as possible to Giyu. This hits Giyu hard, and he's about to agree to join the training when a panicked Tanjiro challenges him to a soba eating contest. I guess training can wait a little longer. Episode 3. Fully recovered Tanjiro joins the Hashira training. Tanjiro is recovered and ready to join in on Tengen's endurance training. Right away, Big Bro Tanjiro starts putting these nameless NPC demon slayers to shame. He shares his war stories of fighting the upper ranks, and it demoralizes them to know they're never, ever gonna reach the rank of an anime protagonist. Later, Sanemi and Obanai talk about how they think the final battle is drawing near, and then duel each other as a form of training. At night, the Demon Slayers take on a special training assignment where Tengen plays the role of a demon. Of course, it quickly devolves into just a fight between Tanjiro and Tengen. When the other Slayers see the true speed and power of these two fighters, they start to believe that there really are swordsmen capable of taking down the strongest demons, and they throw themselves back into training with a renewed optimism. Tanjiro graduates from endurance training and heads off to the Mist Hashira's movement training. Episode 4. To bring a smile to one's face. Tanjiro enters Muichiro's training to the sound of trainees begging for mercy. He's brutally whacking these dudes with a wooden sword, chastising them for being unable to dodge the simplest attacks. The other Slayers ask Tanjiro if he can get Muichiro to go easier on them, and they all watch as Muichiro slips out of the training area at night. A full day of training with these rookies isn't enough for Muichiro, so he joins in on the duel between Sanemi and Obanai. Unknown to the Slayers, a horde of demonic eyeballs scurry around the area, surveilling the Hashira training. These eyeballs belong to the biwa-playing woman named Nakime, who recently got a promotion to upper rank 4, and we really don't get to see much of her in the story, so we'll be moving along. 3 days later, Tanjiro is ready to move on to the next training, but he first challenges Muichiro to a paper airplane contest. I guess Tanjiro has decided that instead of headbutting every Hashira, he'll just challenge them in random things. I guess that's healthier. Muichiro destroys Tanjiro with his precisely folded planes, but all the other Slayers want to join in, and they end up having a fun arts and crafts day. Man, when Muzan sees the incredible paper airplanes these guys can fold, he won't know what hit him. Episode 5. I Even Ate Demons. Tanjiro's next training is the sweetest one yet. It starts with eating pillowy pancakes made by the Love Hashira herself, then doing some simple stretches to limber up. Oh, okay, on second thought, this might just be the harshest training yet. Next, he moves on to Obanai's training, and the Hashira has cooked up something just as psychotic as he is. The Serpent Hashira tied up a bunch of trainees to posts around his dojo, and Tanjiro has to spar with him while avoiding whacking any of his comrades. To make it even harder, Obanai has a wooden sword that he is somehow able to make move like a snake. For 4 days, Tanjiro makes little progress, unable to even land a hit on Obanai. But then, he decides to imagine he's in a forest and slashes Obanai's robe. He's learned the strongest power of all, the power of imagination. On his way to infinite slash training with Sanemi, Tanjiro runs into Zenitsu as he's trying to escape the boot camp. To be fair, he'd probably have the same reaction if training was just doing some push-ups. Sanemi's training is a simple all-out spar with the Wind Hashira, one that you're only allowed a break from when you fall unconscious. Sanemi hadn't forgotten his beef with the Kamados and is extra harsh on Tanjiro. After the first day, Big Bro is completely covered in bruises. Tanjiro sees Genya trying to patch things up with his older brother. Sanemi just berates Genya and tells him he should quit as a demon slayer. Genya says he'll never quit, as he has gone to extreme lengths to prove himself, including, eating demons. Sanemi snaps when he hears this and lunges towards his brother to try and gouge his eyes out. Tanjiro has to tackle Genya straight through the wall just to save him. Tanjiro tries to defend his friend, but Sanemi has completely lost it and attacks Tanjiro without holding back. The brawl lasts until nightfall, and afterwards Tanjiro gets reprimanded and kicked out of training early. He leaves upset that he wasn't able to improve the relationship between the two brothers. I guess even Tanjiro can't fix every personal relationship. Episode 6, The Strongest of the Demon Slayer Corps. The boys have finally made it to their strength training with the mysterious mountain Hashira, Guillaume, and it's the toughest one yet. They must stand under a freezing waterfall until they can withstand the pressure all day. Then, lift a bundle of 3 giant logs, and finally, they'll push a giant rock over 350 feet. If it isn't Tanjiro's old nemesis, the boulder, back for revenge. Tanjiro and Zenitsu join up with Inosuke and their old friend Murata from Mount Natagumo, but they're all struggling with just the first waterfall stage.
Then I can too! Huh? Why'd he suddenly stop chanting?
When they see the blind Hashira effortlessly pushing a boulder, it inspires them all, Zenitsu excluded, to redouble their efforts. Before long, they all reach the boulder stage. Tanjiro makes a delicious lunch for everyone, and Genya stops by to tell Tanjiro the secret to increasing your strength is using a repetitive motion, like repeating a chant that puts you in a heightened state. Tanjiro's repeated action is to picture the faces of his family members, then remember Rengoku's last words. By working himself up, he's able to start moving his boulder, just an inch at a time. The more he repeats it, the more he's able to sustain this state until he finally is able to push the boulder consistently. That's Tanjiro 2, Boulder 0. Episode 7, Stone Hashira Guillaume Himejima. We're close to the end here, folks, but there's still one Hashira whose backstory we haven't heard. When Guillaume was younger, he worked in a temple where he took care of a group of orphans. They were like a family, and Guillaume always gave up his own food so the children could have one more portion. One night, a boy snuck out after dark and encountered a demon. In order to save his own life, the boy told the demon where he could find a whole temple full of tasty orphans. The demon slaughtered the children, and even though he absolutely hated violence of any kind, Guillaume faced the demon and was able to save a 4-year-old girl. The girl was young and confused, so when townsfolk came the next morning, she told them Guillaume was the one that killed the orphans. He was imprisoned and sentenced to execution. However, Master Kaguya intervened to bring Guillaume into the Demon Slayer Corps. Damn, that might be the roughest backstory so far.
That man is a monster. He's the one who did it, who killed everyone.
Anyway, Tanjiro is done with his strength training and off to his final training with Giyu, when he runs into Zenitsu sitting on his boulder. Zenitsu hasn't been able to budge his boulder, but he calmly tells Tanjiro to go on ahead while he clutches a letter in his fist. Not sure what that's about, but maybe it'll finally make him get serious. Tanjiro reaches his final training, and it looks like it's back to simple sparring. Giyu and Sanemi are sparring when Tanjiro interrupts, and naturally, Sanemi just punches Tanjiro in the face and storms off. As he does, he senses something and quickly reaches out to grab one of Nakime's eyeballs. He realizes immediately that the Demon Slayer HQ has been infiltrated. At Master Kaguya's estate, Muzan Kibutsuji opens the front gate and strolls inside. Kaguya, now completely covered in bandages, knows instantly that he is in the presence of his mortal enemy. Episode 8, The Hashira unite. The last episode of Season 4 begins as Kaguya politely welcomes the Demon Lord to his estate. With his 2 daughters calmly playing nearby, Kaguya asks his wife to describe to him the man his family has been hunting for over 1,000 years. Muzan says he's disappointed to see the head of the Demon Slayers in such a weak state, and Kaguya explains his family's curse. See, Kaguya and Muzan come from the same bloodline, and as punishment for spawning such an evil creature, every descendant was cursed with illness that took their life before they turned 30. Muzan laughs and asks why the gods would curse the family line instead of punishing Muzan directly. That's kind of a good point. The two chat for a bit about humanity and the true meaning of immortality and all that, but eventually, Muzan is ready to do what he came here for. Kaguya tells Muzan that his own death will not weaken the Demon Slayers at all, but will rather strengthen them, as the Hashira will not rest until they get vengeance for their fallen master. Across the area, the Hashira's crows alert them of the invasion and they all race to Kaguya's mansion. But then, to the horror of all the Slayers, the entire estate explodes in a massive self-destruct attack, killing Master Kaguya and his family. As he begins to regenerate, Muzan curses Kaguya, having underestimated the lengths he was willing to go to for his cause. And he's not done yet. An unfamiliar blood demon art creates seeds of flesh that burst and impale Muzan. While the demon lord is immobilized, Lady Tamayo rushes forward and stabs him with something. She claims it is a drug that can turn demons back into humans. Muzan refuses to believe such a thing could exist and taunts Tamayo by telling her it's her own fault she killed her family after being demonized, not his. She agrees that it is her responsibility, which is why she'll do anything to prevent it from happening ever again. Now, it's time for Phase 3 of the plan. Guillaume jumps out of the darkness, swings a giant spiked flail at Muzan, and obliterates his head completely. Kaguya believed that even decapitation wouldn't be enough to defeat Muzan, and their only chance was to keep him busy until sunrise. Tanjiro and the other Hashira arrive at the burning mansion, and they all head straight for the Demon Lord. Suddenly, all of them, along with every single Demon Slayer in the entire compound, are summoned into the Infinity Castle. Muzan swears to wipe out every last single Demon Slayer by morning, but Tanjiro claims it is Muzan who will not live another day. Across the endless, shifting castle, every Slayer readies their blade as the final battle has just begun. Well, that's the entire story of Demon Slayer so far. Unfortunately, it'll probably be at least 5 more years before we have the full trilogy of movies wrapping up this story. But personally, I couldn't be more hyped for those when they finally come out. And yeah, we mainly focused on the story here, but dear lord, the animation in this show is truly top tier. Even some of the music during big battles is a masterpiece in and of itself. But what did you think? Who had the most tragic backstory? Is there anyone out there who can defend Zenitsu from all the slander? Let me know in the comments. Also, before you go, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It'll motivate me to make more stuff like this. Have a good day, and I hope to see you next time.